practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden.
This is a special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it dance bread, and some people call it...
Did we get cute? Did we get cute?
I think we did. Yeah. I think he went like this.
He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
He did not know what he was... Boom! We are here live. Live at Meow Wolf Conversion Station.
We're actually here.
We're here, man.
We are here. As promised, we're in the parking lot.
Adam's mic.
What? You're not working?
What do you mean?
Come on, I hear us.
I hear us.
me.
Vinny, look at you with the poor production value. Chat gang will tell us if there's a
Was it
problem.
working or not?
Yeah, good. Okay.
Oh my God!
Oh, goodness.
I'm out.
Wow, that's how. That's pretty much.
Vince is leaving. He's
Vince is like,
the owl.
you guys are fired. Yeah, we definitely don't advise our guests to watch the show before they come on the show. Otherwise, they're
Who
like,
the guest is?
you're in charge, man. You're the one who brought him
Welcome,
in.
Vince.
Yes.
Cadlebeck.
That's pretty good.
Right?
Yeah, that's better than most people.
Cadlebeck.
It's like I grew up saying Cadlebeck and also Cadlubeck. So
Cadlebeck.
whichever. Yeah.
I have a friend who played in
Cadlebeck rolls
Dark...
better. Cadlebeck, you
Cadlebeck.
kind of,
Yeah,
hey,
totally.
use.
You know the band Dark Star Orchestra?
Yeah, no.
There's John Cadlesick.
Ooh.
So
okay.
I figured out that's how I was going to pronounce it. Was the d.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us on the show. And
Actually, I don't
Thank you
even
for
need
having
these.
me.
I don't even need these on psychedelic on our psychedelic episode because
you ate mushrooms.
it's already happening. I don't even. It's already happening without them. It's even better.
Don't tell them that I ate a little bit too. It's a 20-year hiatus.
Oh, hey, Dave ate mushrooms, by the way, everybody. So just in case anybody out there didn't hear.
I'm going to keep the glasses on because everything
Microdose.
looks really trippy.
Yeah, that's the theme of the show. Everything is really trippy.
Yes.
So we're super excited to be here. We're all big fans.
Look, we got Meow Wolf media passes. Check it out.
Hey,
Oh, wait, I don't want to show you
we've
what
got-
they are. They're going to wind up at
Oh, they're
Kinko's.
photocopying them right now. They're out there
I'll put it behind.
scanning that shit off. No, we we were super, like when Dave actually told us that you were down to come on, we were like, really? Again, like he definitely didn't watch the show probably. But
I did it. What did I say in the request? I said, Dear Vince, you must get tens of thousands of connection requests on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I hope this is the one you accept. I'd love to have you on the show. And bam. And I'm not going to go into a Grateful Dead story, although psychedelic episode
it will happen. Don't worry, it's gonna happen.
But
he's
thought,
on mushroom, so it's gonna definitely happen.
Thank you for coming on the show, Vince.
I jumped at this one faster than I jump at most. To be
Really,
honest.
that's awesome. And then we, of course, were like, well, we got to do it at Meow Wolf, and then of course we had to figure out how we're going to do it. So
you get
shout
full
out
credit for that one.
Shout out to Howie and this trailer because it was a perfect concept.
It's great. It's beautiful.
It all came together.
Wait,
it converged. It converged at the convergence.
Look, I'm tickling the Meow Wolf balls.
You're a little off.
Right on.
So because it's your opening day, which is
Today's opening day
official
for the public.
Yeah.
Sold out for how long?
The first few weekends are sold out, and then I don't know, and then the weekdays are still fairly open. Yeah, it's been insane. It's been fucking insane. The local Denver population, the residents here are just
hungry for it.
They're hungry.
Oh, yes.
They are supportive. They've embraced it. So I don't know. I feel humbled by it all.
Well, you guys
Just
are
how much local love we have.
You guys are
know?
taking over this strip too, because if you drive down, it's like Meow Wolf. Oh, there's the kids
Signs
thing, and
everywhere.
then if you know at Elitch's, of course, you had the ride there, which is
Kaleidoscape,
which was a good way to intro, I guess, everybody here to what we're a tiny little a smidge of what's
a little bit of narrative, and also just we've wanted to do a dark ride forever. That's been a huge thing. Just growing up with Pirates of the Caribbean was one of the most influential things I think in my life, many people's lives. We want to do
like
dark
Space Mountain was for me. Space Mountain was definitely those like.
I did that one too.
Yeah.
When I went through, I was like, I was like 11 or something. Like, perfect age to suck that in.
Yeah, for sure. It's a Kaleidoscape. We went with this the whole project has gone with this whole psychedelic.
So Kaleidoscape, for people out there who don't know, is across the way from here. We have Elitch's Garden, which is the amusement park here in Denver, and these guys from Meow Wolf actually took over one of the old. What was the ride originally? Was it like a haunted?
It was
house
Ghost Blasters 2, haunted house style shooter, little dark.
Oh yeah, that's why you had the gun things too.
Yeah.
It was a perfect. Yeah, so they took over that, and then Meow Wolfified it. And it was super cool. You know, my only gripe was nobody was aggressive enough to go through the line when you're standing in line and say, hey guys, you want to wear these glasses.
You want to wear the glasses.
Because after we came out, I was like, wait a minute, were we supposed to be wearing 3D glasses the whole time? And I was like, oh. So
it looks so good. It looks so good with the glasses on.
So we did. We had to do it again. Because we were like, oh, really? I was like, why didn't somebody, we were in line for like 30 minutes. Why didn't somebody roll down the line and go, hey, $2, come on?
They were in my pocket, though. Nobody even I wore them the whole time at the Santa Fe Meow Wolf. The whole time. It added just an element of trippiness to an already surreal experience.
So when officially did Meow Wolf in Santa Fe start? When was your official?
Well, there's kind of two starts. We started when we were just like a social group back in 2008. 20-somethings in a warehouse throwing shit on the walls and throwing punk shows and weird dance parties.
Nice.
And so that was 2008, and then we made a bunch of stuff over the next 7 years, and the stuff that we were making was getting better and better. And it was getting bigger, more sophisticated. We started to have audiences. We started to charge at the door, do donations at the door and stuff. And we started to have budgets.
You gotta
back then we definitely weren't willing to charge. We were so anti. It was. Then that was a big part of our evolution. To be quite honest, it's accepting the fact that what we create has value.
Yeah.
And not being ashamed of that.
Yeah.
I remember we built this gigantic ship in a warehouse called the Do Return. And it was 2 days before we opened it. And we had spent a year, 100 of us, blood, sweat, and tears building this ship. And and we're about to open it. And I was maybe we should ask people for a donation. And it was a huge argument. It was no, this is art. This has to be free. We didn't do it for money. I'm you guys, we spent a year on this.
Right.
Let's try to make some money off of this by donation, so that we can actually do more projects.
Of course.
And it was so that evolution has just been wild. And
it's tough when you do events like that though, because as a person going to those events, there's always that you guys want money, and all of a sudden they won't come to your shit. You know what I mean? And you're dude, it was only $5 we were asking you.
I'm paying you. I'm paying you. I'm paying you. I'm paying you. Did you enjoy yourself?
Well, the funny part is that we always undervalue what we do as
artists,
any artist, any artistic sort of thing, because it's you don't think people, and then you see how it goes on the opposite end of the spectrum, where it's holy shit, people will pay for that shit. All of a sudden, the thing that you wouldn't, were afraid to charge.
But I gotta say too, though, that just to give credit to the skepticism. The skepticism comes from a place of authenticity, and it's knowing that money kills spirit.
Yeah.
And so but that's something we got to remember.
It's the same in the weed world.
In.
It's the same in the whole weed world though too, because as growers go through the same thing. They put a lot of energy, time. Some guys are doing it organically, 100%. Other people are just doing it for the money, and they're just pounding it with whatever and trying to figuring out their bottom line. But the people who put all their everything into it, they don't get paid more than those other guys do, who are just looking at the bottom line.
Right.
And a lot of times people don't. It's just by getting that artistic sort of edge to it, which is what we consider artesian grown cannabis, is the same as any. If you go and you want to buy food, you probably want to have it from a small, nice, maintained farm, instead of some big ag farm, which is just pumping it, just like those big growers are. And I think in the art world, so one of the things that was interesting when we were in Santa Fe, my wife and I, we met in Amsterdam, and I lived there 20 years. She was there. She came from Sweden, and we both were this reminds us so much of Amsterdam squat parties with the Rietveld Academy. So you've heard of the Rietveld Academy?
No.
So the Rietveld Academy is like a free art academy in Amsterdam, which is like they just go off and like, hey, go ahead. Here we have all this for you. Grants and stuff. So they put together some amazing shit, and it's like the vibe at that place had that same vibe. We were like, wow, this feels just like you're at some crazy Rietveld art exhibit because it just keeps going on and on and on, like room after room.
You're constantly left thinking, there's more here for me to see. Yeah. There is more. I know there is more.
Denver's and every in the house time without a stripper. I see no strippers though. I don't see a single stripper.
Another one of our fans who's been threatening to bring us strippers for years.
Christmas strippers and New Year's strippers, and we had also
It really is something where you go around the corner, and the moment you think you're not going to see something new, you find something new.
Yeah.
There's something new to do. In here was. I thought it took aspects of both Meow Wolves. I thought it was more reminiscent of Santa Fe than Omega Mart. Yeah. But I did see some Omega Mart things in the gift shop, which I like seeing.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that thing. When we went there, thinking that it was just after the vaccine came out, you could travel, you could go do stuff again, and there was a restaurant, I guess, in Omega Mart prior to COVID, but after COVID it wasn't there, and we got there 10 o'clock in the morning and didn't leave until 5 and didn't eat a thing the whole day.
So you stayed for like the entire day inside of Omega Mart. I love Omega Mart so much.
Looking at all of the fake food.
Fake food, big stuff, I'm thinking maybe if I open this up, they just used Cheerios or something, and maybe there'd be something to eat. But no, I didn't do it. I held on. It was Vegas though. You can't go out and come back in. That's a Vegas thing everywhere.
So when you guys were like, so the art crew that most of those people kind of went with you as it grew, and
we kept on building stuff, and then so like after that ship that I was talking about, it was like a few years of like whatever. Like a bunch of kind of random stuff, and then we kind of separated. Like we stopped meeting, and Meow Wolf was about to be done. We didn't really have any projects going on. It was hard to get people to meetings. What started off as like a really fun passion project in our 20s became like this serious obligation in our 30s.
You said the M word. Meetings.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. It got turned into a business.
We had meetings all the time.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
When it was funny is my son, who's like 9, he's been feeding me all this Meow Wolf info. He's like, so how they came up with the name? You know how they came up with the name? I'm like, I don't know how'd they come up with the name. So he told me the story.
Yeah.
And it was very anticlimactic.
It is always anticlimactic.
But at the same time, I was like, pretty fucking lucky that they picked those two because it definitely works. It's like one of those things where
picked 2 hats.
Literally 2 hats.
But at the time, like what was fun, we're weirdos.
Could have been Wolf Meow. Could have been Wolf Meow.
It was almost Wolf Palace.
Wolf Palace?
Yeah, Wolf Palace. And somebody said that sounds like a really terrible strip club.
Who was that? That's exactly what I was thinking.
Give them a raise.
I was thinking strip bar right away. When you said palace. Anything with the word palace is pretty much like some cheesy off like palace. Like in the industrial park.
Right.
Industrial park strip club.
Yeah.
Sound. That's good. I like that. No, I mean it's pretty cool. Like it's a cool.
Is that a font? Is that like the new Meow? Like, can you classify Meow Wolf as a font?
That logo has been around for so long, and Emily Montoya, one of our co-founders, designed it, and she's brilliant. I mean, like the branding of Meow Wolf with her mind, and she was also the creative director on Omega Mart, like the actual grocery store.
Oh, right.
So like it's just this like Emily and her partner Benji are like impeccable with their design, and Omega Mart you can see that, and our logos you can see that. It's just like it gets who we are across like so well and cleanly. It's clean. It's not complicated. It's not like loud and messy. Yeah.
Yeah, so for everybody, that is a real train going by because we're live in Denver from Meow Wolf's opening day. Opening day.
Amazing.
There's people outside. There's a line. It's a huge
people are actually
line.
Going in. It's crazy.
There's no parking. Well, I don't want to say there's no parking if you were coming down here. You will find a spot, but you're not just driving up to an empty space.
Who needs parking?
Right. I watched everybody walking around when Vinny and I were here earlier, and they just had all these signs that said lot full. And they were just going around changing all the lot signs. So you have to be doing something right if that happens on day one.
So when did you guys buy the bowling alley? How did it come into business? Because it's a pretty big space.
We weren't meeting much, and then I was like, nah, Meow Wolf can't die. We got to keep going. So I was like, let's have a business plan. So came up with a business plan for Meow Wolf and visited an old bowling alley and walked through. And the real estate agent was like, cool, let's put some money down. How much money can you put down? We're like, nothing. We got no money.
Shut the fuck up.
And then, he's like, well, who do you know who has money? And I was like, well, I know George R. R. Martin, the author of Game of Thrones. And I went and pitched it to him. And George bought the bowling alley. And I was like, then we could go out and actually raise money for the business around the George R. R. Martin name. Like, hey, George R. R. Martin just bought the bowling alley, and we're going to do this, And so it just created an insane amount of momentum.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a wild, wild ride.
There should be something. I don't want to sound like a communist, but there should be some endowment.
You can't help it, Dave. You can't help it.
For the arts, man. You're so blessed and lucky to have a benefactor like that. But think of all the art out there if we had some pool to draw from. So what I'm really saying is, George, buddy, let's put some cash in a fund. And
what's really awesome now is the fact that what you do doesn't, it can revive. Like, you can already tell when you pull up to the one in Santa Fe, you're like, oh, it's right. Okay, it's not in a downtown, an expensive spot.
Right.
It can just it creates its own neighborhood at that point. And now where you guys are situated here, and the fact that Trey and those guys want to buy or bought Casa Bonita up the road off of Colfax, it's pretty much turning into this amazing little strip where I can see the real estate just instantly people get it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is the new art spot.
But isn't South Park a form of art that was never done before? I mean, that's their own art. They used to do it with stick figures and move it around themselves. Yeah. And now they can whip an episode out in 3 hours.
Yeah, now it's like one of the most successful television shows of all time.
They need Meow Park in there.
Yeah, I know. There needs to be some sort of Casa Bonita.
There's definitely going to be.
We're going to get ragged on South Park. I know that. There's going to be some kind of it's going to be great.
That's the best thing that can ever happen.
Yeah.
That ever happens,
I'm so jealous of you.
I made it.
I know.
Well, we actually thought.
Then your Barbara Streisand moment for you at that point.
They liked me.
She didn't actually say that, I don't think. Or no, wait. That was something else. You guys know the Mandela effect? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's one Mandela effect. I think it's that one. She didn't actually say. She actually didn't say that.
What did she say?
They like me. They really like me. It's something different, and it's like one of those Mandela effects where just
wow,
everybody
remember it.
Yeah, and it's something else. She's just YouTube it.
Mark, Google it. Find out. What are we remembering incorrectly?
His name is Shitty Jamie.
He's in the room. I didn't even realize that. The monitor was blocking him out. I thought he was in the chat.
Oh.
So that's Mike Denver.
About,
he runs a strip club.
Okay.
I was over here hanging out with Mike Denver. So what was that?
What's up, Mike Denver?
No, we missed everything, man. You're supposed to Google something. But
what do you need me to Google?
So 8 seconds ago. I don't remember what I said.
Well,
He got diverted.
I got diverted when I saw Mike Denver in his flowing hair.
I'll get you on the next one.
If Rosendog saw Mike Denver's hair right now. Sorry for the tangent.
So it seems like the Vegas one really went quick too, because it didn't even feel like it, all of a sudden it was like, oh really? I didn't even know it was there. It was like it. How did that? Is that like going?
Vegas is going on, still cranking.
I love it.
Yeah,
no,
and
he didn't mean quick fizzle. He meant all of a sudden you guys got an exhibit there. And,
it went quick. It went quick from Santa Fe to what was the crossover time?
Because it's so funny because it doesn't feel quick to us because it's just been a lifetime.
Right.
But from the House of Eternal Return it's 2016, March of 2016. We signed leases in Vegas and Denver in 2017, and then we got to work. And then we raised the money for these projects in 2019. So we were working for 2 years on these projects without even having the money necessarily to pay for them. So we just had a bunch of faith that somebody was going to come forward and be like, this is going to be worth it, And we found these incredible investors from New York that most people that I pitched to were like, you need how much money and to do what? Vegas and Denver at the same time. You guys don't have that. You guys don't have that production capability. But these guys were just like, we believe you guys. And
South Meow Park Wolf.
Killed it.
Right?
There you go, crossover.
Actually,
it's official crossover.
Yeah. You better get that hashtagged right now. That there is such a... I mean, your job went from being so incredibly fun and engaging in the art world to when you said raising money, it makes the hair in the back of my neck stand up. It's like the worst thing in the world. It's like, wait, I have to go try to whore myself out to somebody to get them to write a check so that if they only had 9 seconds in my head, they'd get it. Because I get it. Now, how do I convey that to them in a language?
Totally, man. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I hate it. What I like to do is I find somebody who knows the pitch really well.
Yeah.
And then I just bring them together, and then I hit mute on my Zoom call, and then I let them talk. Right?
Exactly.
I know you might want to write a check, and this guy really knows how to talk about it. So just do your thing.
Yeah.
And if something happens, let's all build something together.
Yeah, absolutely. The scariest moment for me was we had to get some debt. And the people who were going to be basically approving the debt, you know, it was a big deal. And they were looking into us, and they're looking at me, and basically I get a call from them. We needed it in order to survive. And so they give me a call, and they're like, "Hey Vince, we need you to fly to New York, and we need to talk to you about something." So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, fly to New York. I go to the top floor of this crazy Manhattan building, and I wait in their office, and I'm waiting for this group to come in. And they come in, and they sit down, and they say, "So tell us about the shoplifting." And I was like, I shoplifted, got caught a couple times, and I had to explain like my history, you know, because I got caught shoplifting twice. And it was just like, I told them the last story, which was a true story, and it was like about this cop who ended up crying, and he didn't want to actually like arrest me because he was just like and it was a true story. And after I told them the story, they said, "Can you put us in touch with the cop, and can we confirm that that's a real story?" I was like, oh my God. So I called the cop from 5 years ago and was like, "Hey, this group in New York needs to talk to you about the time you arrested me shoplifting, because they need to make sure that the story I told." It was just like, and it, yeah. So it's like that, it was that kind of shit of just like, it's so intense, you know. And it makes sense because it's like all about trust, you know. But you have to just, you know, balance that. And
well, now that you have 3, I'm going to say successful Meow Wolf projects, I don't think you can have that problem anymore raising money.
Yeah, no, totally. And
I think it's going to be a little easier.
Yeah. And we have the best investors in the world right now, like for real. And like, it's just, I can't say enough good things about them. And I say that and I double down on that just because it's like, people don't think about investors as being good people. Automatically, it's just like, no, they must be out for the money and they must be scumbag. But these people are amazing.
That's the weed investors. Those are the short-term money guys who think of the thing about this is it's a vision that's like, now I think everybody gets it. And it's even funny when you tell people about Meow Wolf, it's like they don't get it, you know what I mean? And then you try to explain it to them, and then you come, like after we actually, before we even went, we were like, you know, championing it before we even got to the place, go there even more. And then you get people, it takes them like, you know, the 5th time maybe where they go like, oh, so what is it? And I think once people experience it, then they understand like, oh, this is so needed right now, and timing couldn't be better because we're going into this whole psychedelic sort of phase, and adults, you know, get it. Kids love it. It's like a kind of, I think anything that makes like a 7 to 10-year-old kid go, what? Like as you're driving down the road, if they point at you, you're doing it right. You're doing something right at that point, because those are the ones that still have it in their heads like, that's cool, or that's fucking something interesting. The guys who are like, don't even look at it, they got their hands in their phone or whatever. That's kind of like the drones, you know what I mean? And the creative, artistic people get it, and I think it's kind of like you awaken it, a lot of it, in people who probably wouldn't have much shaking it out of them at this point in time.
Like what's crazy is, you know, we knew when we were doing the Santa Fe exhibit, like, you know, we kind of knew what type of people would be there, would show up, you know, burners, kids, you know, people into the dance community, like creatives, artists, of course. We didn't expect like soccer mom and soccer dad from Kansas to be driving across the country to come see a psychedelic art exhibition. And that was the thing that was like, and I think this is what's kind of shocking everybody in the world right now, seeing Meow Wolf's success, is like wow, like we didn't realize that a general population wanted to get so weird. without like IP associated with it.
Right.
You know, it's not Star Wars. It's not, you know, it's
there's a feature film coming from
Stranger
Meow Wolf.
Things.
Don't you worry.
Yeah, totally.
Who's going to play you? Brad
Yeah.
Pitt. Right? What do you think?
No, please, no more movies.
Everyone during this time, it's not even this time, it was before also, they just didn't realize how much they enjoy smiling, seeing something that is outside their shell, that they almost manipulate their own attention. They're going to watch what they watch within their own little bubble. They don't care to experience outside their bubble, and Meow Wolf gives them an opportunity to turn a corner and have everything change. Mm-hmm. I was in one room where a little cubby almost, and I stood up in it, and it's just playing this trippy forest music, and I'm just relaxed. I get out and I walk around the corner, and there is a sculpture setting of a different interpretation of how the inside of someone's head was designed in ceramic or porcelain. And so if you're expecting something, just get your eraser out. Right. You know, it's all a new experience.
So there's like I talk about like three things that are really key to the Meow Wolf experience. One is exploration, one's discovery. And then the third important thing about exploration and discovery is that you need to be in an unknown environment in order to explore and discover. Like, exploration and discovery cannot happen within a known environment because there's nothing to explore or discover in a known environment. So what happens for people is that they build these gigantic known environments around them. And that's called adulthood, or that's called identity. And it's like, I go here, I do this, it's all known. I watch this, I talk in this way, and it's my own personal identity, it's identity of my family. So it's a known environment, and we lose the ability to explore and discover when we build these known environments around us. And we die. Our spirit, our scientist, our human dies. And so like psychedelics give people an opportunity to explore and discover within an unknown environment. Mm-hmm. Meow Wolf, without the drugs, is a psychedelic experience that does the same thing. And when you provide people like that opportunity to reconnect with that explorer and discover, which is what kids are all the time, right? It's always exploration and discovery because for a kid the world is an unknown,
and their parents come and change everything on them. They don't know what's going on.
So it awakens this like spirit, and this thing that we lose, which is called possibility.
Yeah. Well, I think also the fact that you let everybody touch, come in, open every drawer, look through, and you see how it's hard for people. They're like really like, they're like, you mean you want me to like look into somebody's stuff? And it's like, it's like I could see the hesitation on all the adults, and then all the kids around them were just jumping into everything and looking at everything because for them that's just normal. Right?
That's a little more in Omega Mart. Omega Mart had that feeling where if something looks like a doorknob, you should try it. Yeah. Because there's a chance somebody's behind it. Like it doesn't even if it's a cupboard that you can open, you should probably try to open it because the whole wall might move and you go behind it. I believe I remember a freezer that I walked through and discovered a whole area. Oh, just in the Omega Mart, with the t-shirts. Right behind it. Everyone was looking at the t-shirts, and somebody picked a t-shirt up. And I noticed, wait a minute, there's something behind there. And that was it. That's how I got in the first time.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So you went right up into the office. That's
cool. In fact, they were surprised to find me because they said, they're like, you got here early. Yeah. I'm like, I was looking at t-shirts.
Yeah.
Oh, Dave's too loud. Turn him down.
No, I just couldn't.
You've seen all three shows?
Yeah.
Where do you have a favorite?
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, just because of the hand.
Well, the Santa Fe
hand of the artist.
No, that and because I spent a ton more time. Right, so you're asking me to give you my opinion right in this moment. It would be Santa Fe. I was only there 2 hours last night. I need a full day. Yeah. And it was. This has a very good chance of outdoing Santa Fe. Yeah. Omega Mart is a little bit of a different experience. Yeah. We talked about it on the show after I got back. That it was it's like investigation.
And you haven't gone to any of them?
No, I went to Santa Fe.
I went to Santa Fe.
I didn't do Vegas. We kind of wanted to wait till we had our kid with us. So it was kind of like, yeah, we can't, like it's like funny. Our other guest is coming through. I was like, yeah, you can come in. He's like, no, I'm gonna go next week with my girl, so I can't can't pretend like I didn't. Oh wow, this is interesting. You're like, how you gotta go in there with the actual open eyes, which is awesome. I mean, we went down with 2 families and a bunch of kids, and so it was funny because my son, he of course listened to all the rules, and then some other kid went straight to the emergency door, opened up the door, stopped the whole thing, and I was like, and he's like, that kid, he talks about it all the time. He's like, man, that kid just went straight he went right to the door. He didn't listen to the people and the rules. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
So. That's awesome. Someday we're gonna have one of those emergency doors that you actually are supposed to go through.
Yeah, you have to. But then that's going to make it
something.
It's going to piss off the firemen.
The fire marshals.
Fire marshals are going to be so pissed off right there. But that's one of the things I was wondering. Did you have pushback at all because of like some of that? There's definitely some places that average Americans can't even make it through that freaking thing. It's like there's like spots where I'm just like squeezing in myself, going like, oh yeah, there's people who definitely would be like, I think I'll go around to the other rooms till I. Make it. Did you have problems with fire code stuff ever?
I mean, like Santa Fe, it's a small town, so we're just kind of like doing our thing. In Vegas, it's like more people build weird things in Vegas than any other city. So they have they have a book that basically outlines every single weird thing you can imagine. So there's code for everything.
Really?
So we're just like going through the Vegas project, and they're having us run through all sorts of. So that one was just like spick and span, and very similar to Denver. Denver's also been tough. And the thing with Denver is it's like they know how to check some things, but then there's some things that they just never seen before.
Right.
So how do you stamp something that you just haven't seen?
Did you create any new pages in the book?
I'm sure we did.
They're like, okay, this is the whole Meow section right here.
But we have this project management team in our company called AOA, and they are basically like theme park project managers, and they do all of this stuff. So they're constantly, and they're like the best in the business. They're amazing, and they are constantly having to deal with like brand new, unique, large scale sculpture stuff. Right. Because they work in theme parks. So we got through all that. The biggest thing was like Santa Fe is a failure from an ADA perspective. We have like a second floor that's not accessible. It passed ADA, like it was ADA approved, but from where we actually should be, we were kind of disappointed in that. So we made sure that Denver is like the entire exhibit. Every floor can be experienced. Every room you can experience. Like it's a real intentional thing to,
There was somebody in a wheelchair last night enjoying themselves quite much.
Yeah, sweet, awesome, yeah. So that's some progress with the company. We're still only like 7 years old. It's like crazy to think about that. Still figuring all this out.
So it's like it seems like 2 years each kind of project is about averaging right now as far as like the before.
Yeah, both of these took about 4 years.
Is that with the COVID factor or without the COVID?
Yeah, it was with COVID factor.
This is built from the ground up to this building, right?
This building was a new building. Is a new building.
Like it's funny too because it's already really well the way it's positioned and stuff. It's like people don't even get it's already there. It's like, oh, it's been there. It almost feels like it's been there, but even though it's so new and fresh.
I remember driving past it the first time, just seeing it, going, oh my gosh, I didn't notice it. Now it's done.
Yeah,
that's it. And again, it has that feel like it's been here, but you look at it, you go, no.
It's wild. I can't. That's like one of the thoughts that I've had walking through Meow with Denver over and over again is that like this is so absurd. Like this building should not exist. It's an absurd building in its location that should not exist, and then the project inside is absurd. It's like, how did this thing fucking come into existence?
For the reason that psychedelic therapeutic medicine is going to be the newest sector to outpace cannabis since sliced bread. It is.
Yeah.
They're estimating that 1 in 4 adults would benefit in some form or another of psychedelic therapeutic treatment, be it PTSD, addiction, childhood trauma, genetics. And something like an experience like this, to me, of course it was going to happen.
Yeah, and that's like I really want to get involved in that field that you're talking about and have like the Meow experience be thought of as a potential, like it's a substance-free like window into the same thing. And can we do some sort of study, like because I want to know, like, does this, because for me it's transformative, and we've heard it on our comment threads, like people just being like, I went to Meow Wolf and it changed my life. Like, you don't just say that. That's a big fucking statement. I went to Meow Wolf and it changed my life. So like, does it actually have transformational capabilities, immersive art, you know?
Well, it's also just like you were saying about soccer moms and people like that. There's a lot of that, like, who are really only there because of circumstance. They probably had some there was probably a moment in time where they were doing art in school, and they were doing it, right. And so because of where they're at, so I think you're gonna definitely tap into a lot of people's repressed sort of artistic side, you know, which is, you know, and that's part of, I think, why a lot of people like to take psychedelics. It's like, you know, that's like because it's all in your mind, right? So if there's a moment where, I mean, I remember tripping, doing chaga, and it was like, that was my big, you know, you always get like a message or whatever, and I was like, the message was, damn, Adam, you're really creative, because all the shit it was very complex. I was like, man, I'm making it all up in my mind, and at the end of it all, it was like that, like, reinforcement that you still have, it's like, you didn't just go into some blank, like, no, nothing's happening, you know what I mean?
But it's kind of like this experience in there. You go through Meow Wolf with someone, and you're watching them experience it, is completely different than you going through it yourself and you just experience it internally. Yeah. And so there is, like I said, every corner you turn, it's a different experience. It changed. Just coming, there was this one trippy sort of where it's sort of, you'll see it's turned sideways.
Oh,
You walk through it. Just coming in from the either ends is a different experience. Yes. And watching everybody sort of grab on in the same time as the perspective shift changes and gets a hold of them. Yeah, but I think too, you don't need to be under the influence or using anything psychedelic assisted, but if you were, it again changes the experience. Yeah. And
what, you think people are coming here tripping? No way. No, in Colorado?
I'm pretty sure in Denver it's legal.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when we pulled up. It was like the everyone's got their most colorful possible shirt. Like, we're going through the wardrobe. What is the most colorful thing I have? I got to go for the most colors.
Well, last night it looked like if you were planning a gathering in the Star Trek universe of what they thought the future of trippy dress would be. There were guys in like business attire, but the suit was blue plaid with trip across it, and the guy standing next to him was yellow.
That guy that you just described is the investor that I was talking about.
He was great. He came over and saw Heather's cake.
Coat on
He's just like, that's a cake? Yeah. I can't believe it. Good, because we gave him the business card. So good.
Okay, sweet.
I was going to say, when you were telling your investor story early, what would be fantastic with these amazing altruistic investors is if they really felt the need to sponsor a podcast to take it out of this amazing, humble studio into something a little bit more not a lot less rocky when, somebody on the other end steps on the couch on the left or the right, the whole thing doesn't shake, little things like that, maybe they're just feeling amazing. It's all the details. Yeah. Well, I wonder what were you like as like a teenager?
I hated school. I didn't want to go. I wanted to find the easiest path to.
My son is look at this path of least resistance, right?
I would walk into class first day of school, and I would negotiate with the teacher how I can get a C or a D, but never show up to class.
Did it work?
And a couple of teachers would be like, how about you do this? And I was like, okay, cool. They're like, turn this type of thing in at the end of each quarter.
If my kids are listening, no.
I hated it. I hated it. I couldn't stand being there. I just knew that my time was worth more.
When I graduated, my vice principal was like shaking her head, and she's like, I never would have thought. I was like, yeah, I'm out. I fucking in and out, man. I didn't get.
Are you happy? You don't have to deal with me anymore.
But I had pushed it on my attendance thing so bad, like I was the worst.
Yeah, totally.
And then they suspend you, and I'd be like, wait a minute, this is just adding to my. You're fucking me up now.
Wait, you're telling me my problem was I didn't show up enough, so you're gonna punish me by making me not show up even more.
I was like, that's great.
I was down to learn. I just didn't want to go to school, and I was down to like do projects. I just didn't want to show up to school.
What did you do?
Can everyone hear?
What'd you guys do?
Yeah, what'd you do?
They're coming.
Is it us? Vinny, is it us?
It was Vinny.
They coming for Mike?
It was Vinny.
What's
dude.
going on?
Mike Denver, they got it. Do you have your ankle bracelet on, Mike?
Oh, jeez. You don't have that on, do you? Let me see. Pick it. Mark, right on.
Finally, something.
So we got this new board over there, and finally, did you hear that? That was a sound effect. It's not like the studio audience wasn't
That was
having.
Impressive.
It wasn't our huge studio.
You don't need a sponsor.
We do have a studio audience. That's the funny part. This time we do.
Yeah, we have a studio. We have a couch. We figured, you know what? It would be. It's a real studio if you have a couch in it.
It's nice.
Because then you have to have
With
a guest.
guests.
What was that?
Oh, what is that? Who farted?
That was a fart laser or something. Is that your?
What is that one? Wow. No, is that Flushing? Oh, wow.
That's for Dave.
That's
for Dave.
That's where I grew up.
All right.
Flushing, New York.
That's my new soundboard.
There you go, Flushing, New York.
You guys
Nice.
fancy.
How about
Flushing, New York. See, I've been listening to
somewhere like Times Square. Once it comes back.
Times Square. That'd be crazy. We'd have to do something really weird and crazy.
But high
in Times
up.
Square. I have an idea for the New York show
Like a
that we've been
penthouse, like a
talking
penthouse
about.
deal. Yeah.
I think we'll do a really cool New York show, but we've been talking about this idea for a while. I can't say what it is but I think it's going to happen. And it's going to
Take over the Statue of Liberty. Was that it?
That would be quite a move. That would be like a
Well, the fact
like
that you
Banksy
can
move.
smoke anywhere, that you can smoke cigarettes there too, is pretty much smoke weed now. So changes the whole vibe of the city for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
We will experience it.
Right. I know. Next week.
Next week.
New York scares us from like a professional perspective. It's just like in order to do something there, it just has to be really good.
I'm sure Miami's screaming for you guys too. That seems like such a classic.
Miami would be a good. I mean, we have a lot of markets that we're looking at for sure. Obviously, and it's like
Hawaii.
but we also have to.
Well,
it just goes back to that
Hawaii's
whole
a rough-
thing of like not losing the spirit. It's like
Yeah, and you. I mean, the artists here are mostly local and mixed.
like half and half.
Half and
like
half.
a lot of Denver local artists.
That's so
artists.
amazing.
Yeah, like 140 or something.
That's awesome. And then you have your own, obviously, Wolf crew. I'm assuming.
Yeah, we have like a team in Santa Fe that's seriously like the best team in the world. I mean, they're just incredible.
I'd love to see that workshop. That must be dope. Yeah.
Well, everyone
Yeah.
seems so. Even the people you have working for you are engaging and excited to be doing what they're doing. It seems it's a foray into an entire artistic.
Totally.
Because they get to live the character.
Here's the interesting thing. So I was talking about exploration, discovery, and that can only happen within the context of the unknown. And that's a really important thing for the sake of what we do for the audience, but it's also really important for the sake of the artist and the employee and the people who are part of the company, is that like if it becomes a totally known environment, then you're no longer exploring or discovering at your workplace or as an artist, and then you lose the spirit. Like, so you have to be able to work within somewhat of an unknown environment and sort of be trusted to do that, in order to be in love with the thing that you're making, and so once it becomes just like, copy paste, then what are we doing? And so that's like the interesting tension. But like money and architecture and design and engineering and legal, like those industries don't like, or like areas of thought don't like the unknown. Like it's really important for people with money to know everything, or for architects to know everything, or engineers to know everything.
Right.
So the tension is that you have like artists who work really well within context of the unknown, kind of like trying to meet with people who need to be in the known, and that tension is just like wild, and that's where the magic comes from. Mm-hmm. There's chaos and order inside that building. There's unknown and known like forces in that building, and that's what's so special about it, is that it's like, we're somehow making this work.
I'm wondering, can you? Is there a future in where like I go in, maybe on my phone, or I wear a Meow Wolf button, so with RFIDs, so I can, when I'm done with the experience, and I go, man, I had such a great time, and I sit down, and I go, Adam, I had a great time, and he goes, oh, you think you did? And he pulls up on the computer and says, you missed, like, there's still 70% left. You could have went there, and you missed that door right there. You got to go back. I mean, because I can see that being a way to, from a business perspective, it's repeat business again and again.
Well, even more so, I think the cooler idea too is that you, like, when you go to a Meow Wolf, like let's say you go to Meow Wolf Denver, that when you leave, you have gone down some kind of new rabbit hole, and like creative experiences start happening like all around you. You know, like that's my dream, is that people like go to Meow Wolf and
sounds like DMT.
Yeah, life becomes more creative.
All of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute, I smell DMT everywhere now.
Yeah, like, totally.
You're like, I can smell it over. I smell it over here, in the trash. I smell it in the trash.
The Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah.
Is DMT here? DMT there?
No,
DMT
but it's
everywhere.
no. I think that definitely happens though, because a lot of it is like you're saying about the unknown. It's when it's awoken. It's awoken. You know what I mean? Like there's like,
yeah, it's hard to go back.
It was. Yeah, you don't. It never does. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
What is it?
Because it feels too good. You're like, fuck. This is good. You know, and then you have to seek it out. Yeah.
Right. So what's on the horizon for, like, as far as, I mean, we talked about all these different states and like New York and stuff, but is there other like like maybe not fixed shows that are going to go around, like more like a traveling?
I mean, that's a definite possibility too.
Just the lone wolf. Well, I think the lone wolf. Yeah. No, I think because I feel like now there's enough. I think all the festies are coming back on, and everybody's, you know, and because it's such a professional crew already, I think you guys can whip together any kind of.
Well, I just say like events is also something that's going to be, I think, really big for us. Like, you know, the like going into festivals and doing more like live events.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the venue here, but like that's the other part of the company that can kind of be. You don't have to wait 3 years for another Meow Wolf thing. It's like Meow Wolf's here, to, you know, next week.
And you can and you can also. I mean, the thing is, like you were saying before, like if you depends who you go with. Like if you go with a crew of people, you're definitely missing a whole bunch of shit because you're getting pulled here, there, everywhere. If you go by
everybody here, come on.
If you go on, and you know, and it's like you're looking for your kid, pretty much looking for your kid 90%. Like that's all I know was there. Like it was me looking for my kid, running into other parents looking for their kids, going, your kid's over there. Where's your? Oh, your kid's over here.
Have you guys ever been to the City Museum in St. Louis?
No.
Okay, you have to go to the City Museum. It's like it was one of our biggest.
Do we have to go to St. Louis to do it?
But that's where you have to go to St. Louis to do it.
Is there a way to not? Yeah, great.
It's sort of like our biggest influence.
Vegan barbecue.
But it's like that though. It's just like kids slipping through weird cracks, and then you literally have no idea where they went. You just have to deal with it.
Here's a total tangent, Dave question. But what are the chances that on Sundays when the Broncos are home, you'll simulcast the game into Meow Wolf for people walking through?
That's terrible.
Very low.
Very
low.
Wow.
So not.
Wait, everybody.
Yeah. Wow.
Not gonna happen.
Thumbs down.
Yeah, we'd rather hear a Grateful Dead story than that.
Oh, there was this one time on Grateful Dead tour. But that would be something. How about simulcasting a concert while you're walking through the experience, like Laser Floyd?
You do shows at Santa Fe.
Yeah, we have shows in Santa Fe. We want to do shows inside of the exhibition where, like, because it's so big and there's so many of these like distinct areas where you just basically do like an indoor sort of multi-stage thing inside of the whole exhibition. So DJs in like weird rooms and like, you know, stuff like that, or like maybe somebody's playing acoustic guitar in one room, or like to kind of do like an immersive festival thing.
And there's a guy playing a kazoo in one room and no one is in there. Like, nobody. The kazoo is, or the didgeridoo room, or the didgeridoo room.
The didgeridoo.
You have a didgeridoo room and a didgeridoo room.
I want to go to the didgeridoo.
I'm going didgeridoo. Personally.
I'm going.
We're part of the didgeridoo crew.
I'm the don't.
I'm in the don't crew. See, we meet up in the don't room.
Yep. In the don't room.
I'll meet you at the didgeridoo room.
Isn't that's a room in there, man?
The didgeridoo room?
No, you just turn and it's like, oh, fuck, okay. I'll go the other way. There's a don't. I found everything has, some things only have one way in, one way out, but there is a...
They kind of just keep flowing.
There is a flow to it. I even appreciated last night there was a, I wonder if it is part of the, it's probably not, but the person who walked around with the cart of lo mein would be like, she was saying, someone, her character, she'd be like, you should take one of the yellow cup right now. And if you took the wrong one, she'd be like, you know, and she really engaged in it. And she was with everybody doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
the
great.
theatrical component was like a real exciting thing for me last night.
Tell us about these. They call it a boop card.
Yeah,
right?
the boop cards. We're trying to tell story through physical locations that are free roaming in open world, and so we need a way to be able to deliver like narrative information to folks without everybody picking up like, you know, magazines and books, and also having the chance to take the narrative content home with them so they can like actually sit and read for like many, you know, minutes or hours. And so this is that solution. You know, I think in our multiverse, there's also a cool system of communication that's the Vox phone. So we have like a phone system inside of the exhibit that you can call internally to other phones. And there's even some phone call you can call over to Omega Mart too in Vegas. So like people can kind of communicate. So we're starting to build like an internal multiverse communication systems.
Well, Heather and I met somebody last night
and with phones
who said they called it inside last night. Someone answered, and then came and found them. Like a character, or I'm assuming it was a character in the play, or it could have been somebody standing near the phone.
That's the shit that really excites me. It's just like blurring the line between what's real and fake. That's where the magic is, you know. And so, like more of that.
Sounds like my life.
Yeah, no, it's and again, like I think the fridge is probably the first thing that drew my attention. Like, I was like, oh, you go down, and then the washing machine. I heard that's the first stories I heard. I was like, dude, you go in, you open up the fridge, you go through. I was like, I like that because you know, from a grower's point of view, we've had plenty of secret rooms with magnets on the walls, and, you know, the classics. Where's the room? And it's like behind your closet. You have a magnetic lock back in the day. And so it was always the illusion, creating the illusion that there's nothing there. And then I think that was for me, that was the part that drew me in, was like the ability to just kind of like see beyond what's in front of you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and behind the door, secret. And that's become such a theme now. Like in New York, there's like it went from the one spot that was there, which is the where you go into you walk into the hot dog spot, and then it's down in Avenue A. And it was like
a speakeasy.
Yeah, total speakeasy. Yeah. Go into the phone box, open up the back door, boom, there's the bar. You know what I mean? That's become like, I think,
it's a trope.
And I think it just touches that nerve. Like,
well, isn't that like the way
we want reality to be more than what it actually is?
Oh yes,
it's just like desperate want for reality to be more than the known.
And like when Banksy had a party, he would do that kind of shit too. Where
it's very Banksy.
It'd be the party within the party.
Yeah.
But then you didn't get to the party that's beyond. Oh, you went to the second. That's not the party.
No.
You had to go. You had to go back into the closet, and then there was another one, and you're like, oh fuck.
That's where the cool people were. You were out with
you had to go
the pond people.
You had to go exactly. You were out with the pond scum.
You want to go with the pool people, or in the back with the
right. No, I think that is definitely the hot thing right now.
But this one, so you'll all figure it out. I'm not giving anything away. You're gonna tap this at every little station, right? But there is this. I don't know, it's a robot soda machine, right? You tap it, you think it's just, and all of a sudden it starts talking to you. And he tells you that he needs you to deliver something. So in a way, it became interactive for me because I was really paying attention to him. And he told me where to go. And then I heard somebody talking about it. And they're like, you know what? This is near the movie theater. So we actively sought that out, found it, tapped it. And he's like, hey, thank you so much, but you can tell my guy I'm fine where I am. And now go back. I could see how, especially with kids really wanting to be engaged in something, this is a whole immersive new world for them. I told my kids I would feel comfortable just dropping them off and letting them do their thing. I don't need to be around them while they experience this. This should be something they experience on their own. It's an environment that's safe to do so.
That's awesome. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any like, you guys are open 7 days a week, or how's it?
Yeah, I think right now in Denver we're 7 days a week, and in Vegas we're 7 days a week. I think in Santa Fe we might be 5 or 6. Santa Fe small, Santa Fe tiny.
Right.
It wasn't
not many residents.
Yeah, but it feels big when you're inside. It has this.
Yeah, I know. It does an amazing job of that.
Yeah.
I think this does too. Like, I know how big it is, but when walking through it last night, I couldn't comprehend.
You're like, dude, I feel like
sick.
I'm in IKEA now. It just keeps going. it just keeps going on and on and on.
Seriously,
on, man.
And I knew the layout really well. Obviously, I've been part of the project since the beginning, and I've walked through the building many times. I was lost. I couldn't find. There's one area called
Dog wants to know where you're
Emia,
dropping the kids off at.
the ice world. You'll get lost for sure. There's still artists that worked on the project that get
They're
lost
still stuck in there. They haven't come out. They haven't picked up their paycheck in 9 weeks, man. Because he's in there.
Thankfully, they have all completed the project, so hopefully they can get some rest.
They reported in safe.
Some good rest.
Marked as safe from Meow Wolf.
Yeah,
I made it out.
I was just thinking, like what you were talking about earlier. It would be cool to have a dedicated room in here and in Santa Fe and in Vegas, which was interconnected in some way that was like, even if it's just like one wall, because you can do that now pretty.
How about just
projection and stuff?
And then it would be like, just getting
some communication.
And then anybody wants to just kind of walk in. It's almost like a photo booth type idea,
right?
But instead of a direct link to the other ones, it'd be kind of interesting.
I love it.
Yeah, it's cool having multiple locations too, because you can really bounce.
I really like that idea. I mean, I'm not the decision maker in this. I think Vince is, but I really like that idea. That's like that thing even in like Grand Central Station in New York, where you can stand in the corner and you whisper, and somebody all the way over there can hear it, and you're connected. You know that.
So we have in Santa Fe, we added a phone, like a payphone, and the payphone has a little video on it. And when you pick up the payphone, you're actually calling an art collective in Oklahoma City who has a show open called Mixtape, and they're called Factory Obscura. So it's like Factory Obscura. So we're not even the same company, and we have this nice connection, which is feels really good.
It would be funny if there was like some Easter egg where you went into a Meow Wolf and you dialed the phone, and like it really was Jerry Springer's number or something like that, and it rang. It's like, oh, it's fucking you guys again from Meow Wolf. Stop calling me.
There you go. Except it'll be Dave's number.
Perfect. Don't do that. Well, maybe. That might be cool. Every now and then, I get a different ring. So, where? I mean, there is no limit to where you can go, right? I mean, it could go European.
That's a good question.
I could see like Meow Wolf, Eiffel Tower.
China might be rough.
They don't want.
I don't think you want to go to China.
It might make people think.
Yeah,
and question their governments.
Exactly. No, you can only do this.
Or places like Dubai or Saudi Arabia or something. Yeah, that's tough.
Anywhere that you encourage free thinking and exploration, this has potential. I mean, it really does. And I can think everywhere else you would go, everyone is screaming to smile again.
Yeah,
it has been a rough 2 years, and I know it wasn't just happenstance or circumstance. Three of them, I've enjoyed all three, and all I'm thinking about is what I'm looking at when I'm there.
Yeah.
You really are checking your
It's a lot like when you're tripping, right? You're trying to look around. Like that was my problem. I always I'm trying to see everything, and I'm like, actually, if you just close your eyes, like now you're actually tripping. Now you're tripping really hard because you're like dealing with it inside. Here you kind of have. Yeah. You don't have that option at all. So you have to. But there's.
And what's cool about that though is when you're walking around the space and you're like you're focusing on everything. You're so attentive to your eyes. And you're also asking yourself the question, like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Like internally in your head all the time. When you leave the exhibit, you've just done like 3 or 4 or 5 hours of that, and your brain is doing the same thing out in reality. Mm-hmm. It's looking at things. It's asking, what is it? It's like, you know, you still kind of keep with it. And I think that's part of the magic.
Questioning
you
everything.
You walk up to a tree and you're like, oh my God, look how beautiful this tree is. Like, I can't believe that this tree was created. It's like, what an amazing tree. That's the hope, at least. Art can do that. Art can open our eyes to all the stuff that we've basically taken for granted out in our life.
Shout out to RevCam, some Chad Dongle. Chad Dongle hooked him up.
Yeah. Oh, say hi Rosin Dogs.
What's up, Rosin Dogs?
Look at that. Look, Rosin Dogs.
Shout out. You got a big shout out.
You got the shout out, man.
Travis? Yeah. Okay.
All right, so look what we got for you. So we do have some sponsors, and one of them that is local in Boulder is Ozo Coffee.
Okay. Boulder, I've been there. This place is amazing.
Rosin Dogs, look, buddy.
Look at
so
that.
These guys put together a package for Vince.
That's amazing.
And let's just
Let's have a gander. Oh, look at that, dude.
That's
So,
awesome.
I don't know if you
Hell
guys
yeah,
see
that's
that.
amazing. It's beautiful.
And this is my favorite.
Don't let fucking.
I say strain.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's looking at the screen. He's pissed. He's like, I need
All those
that.
stickers.
I need all
It's a
that.
single
It's a dope
origin,
logo, too.
imported from some farmer in some far off land, roasted in Boulder on a 1959 roaster.
Wow.
It's fire. This is their instant. You got some swag, you got a mug,
Cool.
and Congo.
That's dope.
Congo. So please enjoy. Thank
That's
you,
awesome.
Ozo.
Thank you,
They're
Ozo.
big
That's
friends.
amazing.
They're big,
Sweet.
big fans. So,
That's awesome.
And I saw
Yeah, I've
there
been
was
there once. It was amazing.
there was coffee in the gift bag from last night. So maybe when you open up your fourth,
Yeah.
it'll be Ozo.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And and if you want to get into growing, Adam can consult with you on any grow projects. Seeds Here Now, one of our number one sponsors, sells seeds, genetics across the country. Just go to seedsherenow.com and say Dunn deal at checkout, and you're going to get a discount.
That's what we do. There's no done deals at Meow Wolf, though, unfortunately. Is there a discount code?
Yeah, we should.
Done deal discount code?
I wasn't even thinking that.
Come
You're
on.
way ahead of. No, I
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
even
good.
thinking. That's
good.
I'm thinking that's because then it's getting all. I don't know. Listen.
Wow,
Well,
the
you
first
met-
time. This
you
is the
met-
first time Dave backed off on it.
Because you're
met Aaron,
contributing
it's
to
like-
artists, man. You just gotta. This is one of those
Well,
where
how about a group? You have to come with a group. What is a group? Is there a group discounts or anything like that? Or how's that work?
It's like local. I think the only discount we have right now is local discounts. There might be a group discount. Yeah, there might be. I can't remember.
So if you wanted
there's
to
local
call the
discounts.
discount Done Deal,
Just call it the done deal
We-
discount. You can
that's-
just call it that anyway.
that's our
It sounds
thing.
good.
if you go to ozocoffee.com,
Yeah.
place an order and enter Done Deal in their promo code, you get 20% off.
Oh, that's dope. Cool.
So I'm not saying 20% off a Meow Wolf entry, but that would be nice. Usually this is when I browbeat
No,
into the
listen.
Merchandise would be good.
merchandising.
Merchandising.
Yeah, merch is
We
the
have
way.
cool fucking merch in that gift shop.
Yeah, you do.
Did you get some stuff?
I didn't, but I was thinking, you know what? Vinny said it was cold because we were going to park in the shade
Yeah.
over there, and he's like, I might have to go in and buy a sweatshirt.
Yeah. No, there's some cool stuff. A lot of Denver artists are represented in the gift shop too. It's great.
Oh, good to see you. All right, good. They got the horn beeped.
Oh yeah. Oh, they recognize me.
Yeah, well. Oh, of course it was you. Of course. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for being with us. Anybody out there, there's a reason to come to Denver other than the fine cannabis, okay, and the mushrooms. Or maybe all three, and you come for Meow Wolf, you stay for the mushrooms and the cannabis, or you come for the cannabis and you stay for me. You know what I'm saying. But it is an amazing place. I only spent 2 hours in it last night, and I'm so excited to go spend more time. I can imagine there's probably an average that people like to say. I go to Meow Wolf 4 times or 5 times, and I know I'm going to go again.
Sweet.
So
That's
that was
awesome.
my kid's costume.
Sweet.
Two years ago. He was
Snaggy.
and he was DJing. That was his DJ costume.
Oh, dude,
so
that's amazing. Emily Montoya's DJ Snaggy, or the person who designed the logo. She's done the same thing.
that's funny.
That's
yes,
sweet. That's a sweet.
Yeah,
Sweet.
we converted
you
it.
don't think a kid from him is going to be creative?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mine went to who's driving my car? Mark, did you leave the keys in my Lambo again?
Yeah.
Okay. My kid made a mushroom hat this big, and we went to the Renaissance Fair. And
Nice.
So, creative people raise creative kids. You're right, Rosin Dogs. Never spend 2 hours on anything. No bagels for you. What else you got for our brother here, my friend?
No, I'm just so happy that you could come through, especially on
Yeah.
this busy day.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the opening day, and you spend time with us. Thank you.
Look, people.
The people who really got this thing done have article or media opportunities with others. I've been just like a board member for the last couple of years, and I've luckily been able to just sort of be like an observer and just be in admiration of the work here. So,
Yeah, you definitely were part of the creation and the main thing is you kept it alive because, like you said, you were at that moment where everybody kind of fizzled off, and then you were like, no, man, this has got to keep going. That was probably a pivotal moment for everybody because if you didn't have at that point, if you were just like, all right, I guess we'll just fuck it. None of that would have been.
Don't ask for donations. Just we'll figure out a way to raise the money.
And then crossing over that line of figuring out how to turn this into a profitable thing is huge.
Yeah.
Because it's feeding it's feeding families, which is awesome.
Yeah.
With creativity, and it keeps creating more things, which is what real creativity does. It just it's like that's the thing we love about weed is a creative sort of high where you're just like you can sit around and bang out a million ideas. You won't remember any of them. That's the hard. You need the person in the corner who's like writing it all down. Like, I mean, I've had people say to me, "Dude, remember that?" And I'm like, "I really don't, but it sounds really cool. I'm glad I thought of it at that moment in time." But yeah, keeping it like turning it from an idea into a real thing is huge, and you've done it in
and actually
massive scale.
A big step of that process, which was a total trip for me, was realizing that me stepping down as CEO was an important step towards these ideas getting made. And that was a real trip, like mind trip, is like realizing like this is what's best for the company, this is what's best for these projects. Because I didn't have the capability to be able to like keep
you don't want to be the
together.
smartest person in the room.
Yeah, and like luckily we had like some really amazing folks, Carl, Ellie, Jim, step into that role and like get this, and they brought in this company AOA and really got these projects on track.
Well, if any of your artists are here tonight and they want to stop in before we go off the air, we would love to have them sit down.
I'm sure we can pull somebody.
We have a mycologist coming in.
He's on the mic right now, actually.
Oh,
he's on the mic.
Oh, look, Mark gave up his mic for the in-studio guest.
I can't even see Travis. I didn't even see Travis. Yeah, Travis is here.
Travis is here.
Travis is here.
What's up, Travis?
So co-founder of the Mushroom Cooperative, and we're gonna switch. You're ready to go, I think, anyway, right? So we're gonna switch seats. Get him in the hot seat over here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Take your coffee.
Thanks, Travis.
Awesome. Yeah, enjoy the coffee.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. Now back to reality.
I don't want to go back to reality. The only thing that got me through is Fridays.
Oh,
yes,
grab bagels too. What about the bagels?
Oh yes, please grab some bagels. Grab a bag of cookies.
Cookies, bagels. You got you get the whole 9 yards.
Give him a bagel or two.
Come on now, no skimping. He brought lots of them.
Vinny's trying to keep all the bagels for himself. Bro.
I know.
They're in there.
He's guarding
Vinny, give him some bagels under the cookies.
He's guarding those bagels like a fucking.
They're under the cookies.
Shark, like a shark.
There
Bagel
you go.
shark.
Yes, they're perfect.
You had some friends rolling through earlier looking for you too, so I'm sure they'll pop back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a couple came by earlier.
Cool.
You're popular.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, we'll get the mic in the right spot.
We talk into the mic. It's amazing how these things work. I'm still learning myself. I'm way too far from it tonight.
Welcome, Travis.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Welcome. We just that was a good interview. It was really cool. That was good to hear. That was good stuff.
He is fantastic. I mean, that
was dope.
To have an artist-led experience like this is we're the ones benefiting from it.
Well, when you look at the size of this building and you look at when you pull up to it, you're like he was saying earlier, it shouldn't be here. Shouldn't even be here. This building shouldn't even be here. All the shit inside is, crazy. And when you stand outside and look at it, and you're just like, same reaction I have. I was like, holy shit, that thing's looks like but it looks like it's been here forever too.
Have you done a Meow Wolf before?
Santa Fe twice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and did you have an opportunity to talk about the shamanic aspect of what goes on in there?
No, I didn't actually.
What were you doing? Yeah. You should have showed up on time, and then you could have
come in and outside.
He was here. He was on time. Right. He was on time. No, but Santa Fe definitely is a center for all of that too. So it makes sense. Definitely, if you think about it from that side,
well, you get to see the young and the old just cheesing because they have an opportunity to step outside the default model of reality, and really just soften into an experience like that. And that's something that really took a hold of me while I was enjoying the exhibit. And they do a really good job of creating artifacts around the storyline. And then if you want to, you have time to mess around with all the little science-led toys, Yeah. You've been there?
Yeah, the Santa Fe. And that's the thing is my son was in it. Like he was like, bam, he went straight to he started looking at the books and getting into it, and he really was, but he had like 3 little girls with him that were just tormenting him. So he was like, I just wanted to look at the books. It was so, because it is definitely a pretty trippy storyline, and not that I grasped it. I was like, I'm getting bits and pieces, but it was definitely well put together.
There was an event where a portal opened up and then basically turned things inside out. Yeah. So it's a interface between, or confluence between the house, which is where the event happened, and then the kind of like upside down world, if you will, that becomes all the other exhibits in the place. The laser harp is what really struck me.
That was a cool room because it's off. You just don't you don't really even see it's there until you get pulled in. You're like, oh.
You go into a freezer with the like plastic, curtain that you go in, and then it's dimly lit, and there's this fog machine running, and there's these subwoofers that have couches built on top of them. So there's this droning bass that just fills the air. And then if you want to, after you've like messed the laser harp, you can perch on those seats and just be in that vibration and watch all the people come in and have first look. And that first look is like pupils are, huge, and just like being able to see something like that with the childlike kind of like, way. It's just beautiful.
Innocence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's just really cool to see people who are like he was saying earlier, like out of their comfort zone for once, because we're so used to being in our super comfort zone, right? Like typically within arm's reach. Everything's like
the span, right? Whatever you can reach, the span.
And but it's without diving deep, like you whenever I hear what you've been doing last weekend, I'm just like, whew, like without diving deep, they can go in.
I had this much today for the first time in 21 years, the equivalent of a mushroom.
Oh wow!
And
hang on, my friend.
Ooh, wow. No, it was great. I was telling him the story. I go
like, you're not gonna feel that, and he was.
We hadn't smoked. It was, we're sitting here, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. I can get it. I mean, the last time was 1991, and ate 2 stems and 2 caps with my best friend on a piece of pizza. So we ate a lot of food with him, and 15 minutes later we're catching trails off of our hands, and then the phone rings, and this is exactly how it happened. He picks the phone up and he's like, oh, no shit. All right, I'll tell him. And he hangs up, and he basically tells me that our buddy who got it, the reason he hadn't heard from him is yesterday he ate half a stem and half a cap and got off for like 18 hours. So we just ate 2 stems and 2 caps each. And as soon as he said that, I just spontaneously threw up, and I still got off for 9 hours. And so I had such an amazing time, and I didn't want to chase the dragon. I didn't want to try to recreate that experience, and I found a different path with LSD and the Grateful Dead that was a little bit more regimented, so I knew, beginning effect, end effect, titration, what was going to go, whereas mushrooms were a little bit of a different experience.
I think you probably know down to a bit more finite between different. I mean, every new strain, or you have to learn, I guess, but for the most part.
Well, there's factors. There's set and setting, dosage, and intention, right? So those things, like where you're taking it, what your mindset is, and even to some extent what you have in your stomach. The psilocybin is converted into psilocin by your stomach acid. So if you have a lot of available stomach acid, it can really, you can get the most out of the experience.
What about if somebody just ate a bagel and cream cheese?
Well, I mean, if your stomach produces a fair amount of acid, you may get it right away. I've definitely eaten Anna and then drank a cup with 6 grams of tea in it, and it came on in 15 minutes.
I think that would come on, regardless of what you ate, right? At that point.
Well, they definitely wanted my attention.
Yeah, right.
What about eating in general with tripping? Because it's like, there's everybody, I remember when we were growing up, it was always like, you can't do orange juice or you'll kill it.
LSD?
It was
There
always
was
like,
never a food. I really wasn't into
I
tripping on a
wasn't
full.
asking you, Dave.
Oh, I thought you
I
were
was actually
looking
asking a guy who might know something. Not
Well,
Dave.
okay, so acid, again, converts the psilocybin into psilocin, and that's what your body actually takes in.
So
The psilocybin isn't bioavailable. It has to convert. So the acid in the orange juice,
Would
facilitates that.
So
Yeah.
That's kind of like butter and carrier molecules for THC during
Yeah.
decarboxylation. and-
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you need something to get it in there. Get it in you.
Yeah. But the other thing the acid does is it then shortens the lifespan of the experience.
Which
'Cause
sometimes
once
is not a
it's-
problem if the experience is usually the
6
length
grams.
is usually the length on a heavy 6 grams. I would imagine shortening just a little bit won't be a problem at that point, right?
Right.
Well, you come out of it after like 5, and when I say come out of it, you're still sparkly, and then, but you're not like, when I say going in, it's like the experience like takes you internal,
Right.
and then you kind of come out of it like you're waking up out of a dream, where you still have your faculties available, but the impact of the insights and everything you just went through are very there. It's a really cool time to just be with it.
Well, usually that coming back out is the best feeling ever because you weren't sure if that was gonna happen. You're like, was that even gonna happen? Like you're like, that's usually the point where you completely, if you let go, like if you're just like, fuck it, you know what I mean?
Therapeutically, wouldn't they call that giving in to the process? Right.
Surrender is the
That's
word I really
surrender,
like,
yes.
and it's really come to me in an intense way since I did 5-MeO about 2 months ago. You really have no choice but to
Right.
surrender to the experience, and
Because it comes on so quick and it's just overwhelming. Yeah.
And from an observer, I was the most Buddha-like out of the group that went in, because some people fight that experience, and I just went right in.
Yeah.
Was it an individual, a group setting, or did you have a guide with you?
Have you guys heard of Kalindi, the gentleman in Detroit that would take 40 grams at a time?
No.
Okay, so it's this guy, Kalindi, martial artist and a community facilitator, and he would take these large doses and explore space-time with these mushrooms. And he got COVID last year, and while he was on the mend, he thought he could exercise, and he couldn't catch his breath, and he passed away. So I went down to Oaxaca with his widow and a group of her girlfriends, and with the intention of meeting the toad and also doing 21 grams of the mushrooms that grow down there that the Olmecs and the Mayans took.
Ooh.
And that's the first experience I had taking mushrooms that had grown like from the earth, which was really wild.
Wow.
And that was when?
About 2 months ago.
So before that, all mushrooms grown on rice or some medium.
Actually, you know what? I did take 2 grams of azure resins once, and it was really like an odd experience compared to other ones, but that's it. Everything else is cultivated.
And the azure essence comes from like Seattle or Northeast?
Pacific
or
Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're originally Hawaiian, or are they kind of?
Well, we were talking about this earlier today. Those are wood lovers, and they're from the Pacific Northwest. They like colder temperatures.
Okay, they're cold.
So it's something we couldn't necessarily do here in Colorado. It's too dry.
Yeah.
And the cold isn't, it gets too cold.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, definitely, we're not blessed in the ability to grow shrooms here easily, just because of that, like,
So dry.
altitude, dryness, all the different combinations are kind of against it, huh? And
But what works for us is that all the other fungi and molds are really low in the air,
Right.
so you have less competitor species to deal with.
sure.
When I was...
So there's a sweet spot kind of in between there.
Yeah, I was doing my thing in Pennsylvania, and there was just 6 ways from things I couldn't even identify that were vying for the same food as my mushrooms. And here it's trichoderma. There's some novel things, and I kind of get excited when I see something I've never seen before, but it's mostly the green mold that takes over bread.
It's a little bit like making hash here too is really good because it's dry and cold, and so it's like where it's not great for keeping terps in your plant though. So we have some things that don't work, not advantageous at all. You can take the same weed from here, bring it to somewhere with humidity, and all of a sudden it changes the vibe of it completely. Changes, goes right back to where now it's got life again, because there's some parts where, like for drying weed, the humidity sucks, but for storing it, a little bit of, you want it to be somewhere.
We're growing it in the Emerald Triangle. We ship it to Colorado to dry, and then we cure it in Minnesota, where it's the faintest mint just adds to the terpene structure.
See, that sounds like a dream.
Shift your product everywhere.
Yeah.
But I guess now so tell us a little bit about the whole, because you were involved with making it happen here in Denver, which I think is one of the which started the process all over the country, and now it's really going to be a wave that's going to be almost bigger than the canna wave, because it's...
Well, the FDA is behind it, and that hasn't happened with cannabis in the same way. Breakthrough therapy status was one of those things that happened right before we were campaigning, and I think really pushed a lot of people over that ambiguous edge, because, the FDA says it's cool, so it must be cool.
Does that come from the fact that so many soldiers coming home from wars with PTSD have found such amazing benefit from using psilocybin-based psychotherapy?
I wish.
Really?
What it came from was Roland Griffiths, the head researcher at Johns Hopkins University, 20 years ago, 21 I think now, convinced the powers that be to give the dying psilocybin. And those studies are 85% significant, basically they're 85% of the population that participates in those studies claims that it was the most spiritually significant event of their lives.
Right.
And
applause.
Yeah, when you have 85%, that is not negligible. Going into studies, if you get in the teens or the 20s, that's a good impact.
Right.
Look at smoking cessation is in the 80s, 84% successful with psilocybin.
Wow.
These are small studies right now, but the way that we have to do phase 1 and phase 2 and expand and get more money.
And these are more intense single therapy sessions, or are these
So there's lead up to it. There's the actual session itself, and then aftercare.
Yeah.
But it's a pharmaceutical. It's a synthesized version of psilocybin, so it doesn't have the entourage effect of the mushroom.
And that's the FDA-approved psilocin, I think. What are they calling it? Right? There's a brand name for it.
They have a brand name?
Yes. There's.
I don't know offhand. I know that Albert Hoffman, the same gentleman that synthesized LSD, was the first to also synthesize psilocybin. So I think it's not even patentable at this point.
No, I believe this is I'll have the name by the next show, but because I was on a pitch session this morning about this, FDA is taking a much different approach. Totally agree with you with potential psychedelics. Mushrooms led the way because it's so driven by physicians. The doctors out there are saying we need to have this arrow in our quiver to help people.
Well, basically Prozac came out 50 years ago, and everything has been a really subtle change of that, and the side effects alone aren't necessarily worth the relief that you get.
You're right.
So you have something that grows from the ground, right? It's literally you can pick a mushroom and eat it, and it's active. Unlike cannabis, where you have to heat it. A lot of these compounds need some sort of alchemy, but the mushroom is literally ready to go right from the ground. It's interesting to be in my position because I'm on Team Mushroom, but to see the powers that be in society, the reasons that they drop their stigma. Oh, because it's in a pill form, because the doctor gave it to me.
Right.
And
cannabis never worked with that ever.
But I watched that show, Fantastic Fungi, and I don't know if they were trying to make us question and think it through, but it kind of made it sound like where the evolutionary progression of what a mushroom would be. We can't even realize that we're looking at these fungus right now, but we are what happens over millennia. Get the hat. Get me my Hershey's Kiss.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
We're just a bunch of fungi.
Well, right.
Together.
Let's talk about something.
Yeah.
So the filaments in the voids of mycelium. Have you ever looked at the morphology or the way that it appears? It's like a spider web. And if you look at our neurons, it's a spider web. If you look at the way the internet is growing, it's a web. If you look at the way the universe is unfolding,
sure,
there's coherence there.
Or your eyeballs and your
yeah. There's something to that morphology. Mm-hmm. And we happen to be, our nervous system is like how we experience life, how our systems govern themselves, how we feed back and report to one another.
It's why we can't find an ancestor that puts us back. They talk about this missing link because we cannot even begin to conceptualize that maybe we came from a mushroom.
And I'm okay with that.
I got no problem with that now. It only took, maybe I'm just easily swayed. It took one movie. and I'm on board. It's making me question it because you're absolutely right. They showed the pictures of what it looked like. I mean, when I see Adam, I see a big mushroom.
Pretty cool. What kind of mushroom? That's the question.
I mean, maybe we're in like some weird Stargate universe where the battle in the universe is bacteria, viruses, and fungi, and that's why viruses affect us and bacteria affect us so bad because the fungi are their natural enemy.
There's a lot to unpack.
Are you trying to bring everything to Star Trek now? Is that what's going on?
I don't know. I don't. Fuck it. It's
sounds like it's you.
I ate mushrooms.
Hello. There we go.
So they heard the panic in our voices?
We're back.
We've been streaming the whole time, actually.
No shit.
Because my laptop didn't run out of power, so...
Oh, shit.
But you couldn't hear everyone because this thing turned off because it didn't have
Did
power.
I say anything stupid when I didn't know I was on camera,
No,
though?
but everyone saw you flailing around like...
Cool. Listen, I'm on the spectrum, man. It's one of you guys made me take the fucking test, so it's your fault that I found out. So fuck them, right? I am who I am.
Don't apologize for that.
And you know what I did? I started about 4 months ago trying to eat lion's mane as much as I can, and I'm looking into it in pill form because it's gotten quite expensive to take the amount I need to take because dementia runs in my family, and the last thing I want to do is let this brain go to waste,
It's not difficult to grow.
Really? Well, I'm glad a mycologist is here that could help me, and I'll grow it at home then.
Yeah, you can buy, we call them blocks, which is essentially a colonized block of wood with the mushroom mycelium, and then you cut a little air hole in it, and it fruits out of that.
Ooh.
And then you can have fresh mushrooms that you had
Yes, please.
opportunity to like hang out with and talk to and coax into existence.
Name
Do they
and
do
slaughter.
Do they do well when you speak to them? I mean, do they show any type of change in growth?
So a lot of what I'm going to say tonight is subjective, right?
That's why we have you
from my
here.
experience. But I want to qualify it. Yes, absolutely,
100%.
absolutely.
Good.
I believe that they definitely respond to us. You know, we show them care, we show them attention, and they respond. It's really, it's.
Yeah, plants the same. I mean, like you can tell when, you know, you take care of them and you leave for a couple of days. Somebody else takes care of them. You come home and you can literally feel them go like, "Thank fucking God you're home." They were torturing us.
That's
they gave
my
us
dog.
Too much water. We didn't need it. They kept giving it to us.
I said, stop. I showed them in my leaves that I don't want any more water, man.
I said, no. And you're like, okay, I'm back.
I said, Mike Denver, stop watering me, man.
Yeah, never let Mike Denver watch your plants.
No. What am I seeing? Dave is seeing pterodactyls. What?
Yeah, dude.
You spelled it right, though. Cool.
Yeah, as long as you spell it correct, and Dave's okay with it.
Yeah.
But
I have no idea if he spelled that right. I just don't. He bought that, right? He thought that.
The communication, though, is definitely real for sure, and I'm sure with mushrooms you get way more from their side than you do with the plant. Plants, you're talking to them more. That's what's helping them out. You know what I mean? You're feeling what they're telling you back, but the conversations are kind of, you know, they're pretty general. Like, hey, I'm hungry. This, you know, I need take care of me, spray me more, or whatever. But tell us how the mushrooms, because I'm sure they got a lot more to say.
Well, the psilocybin mushrooms we can think of as like a master fungus in the same way that ayahuasca is a master plant.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a very clear channel of communication that happens. And a lot of the tweaks or insights that I've had into cultivation have come from taking the mushrooms.
I can respect that. I want to take mushrooms more now. As I sit here and realize.
I told you.
Yeah, no, listen, I spoke with an interesting person. I wonder what you'll think of this. He does CRISPR technology in creating branches of mycology he says he wants to create a mushroom that just is pure psilocybin, you know, to maximize production the same way people started growing cannabis that have more cannabinoids that they want in their flower. You think that's potential?
Absolutely. So they've already used CRISPR. When I say they, a scientist over in Germany by the name of Felix Bly has already used CRISPR with E. coli because it replicates way faster than fungi to get it to produce psilocybin.
Dig it.
But the yeast, what you were doing with THC, you were doing yeast.
Yep, they're growing cannabinoids out of yeast.
Yeah, similar vibe.
But here's the thing. We're not only looking for psilocybin. We're looking for baocystin, norbaocystin, all the entourage elements. Mm-hmm. You know, I think a lot about vinyl, right? So vinyl captures all the sounds that are ultra and subsonic, the sounds that we can't necessarily hear, but the physics of them affect what we do hear. So I think a lot about those compounds that occur in super minute amounts are actually affecting the spectrum of things that are affecting us. So by isolating just the psilocybin out, we're missing out on an opportunity for the medicine to be as dynamic as it could be.
It's like why people need to stop focusing on raising THC in cannabis and start looking at all the entourage effect that occurs with all the different minor cannabinoids and terpene profiles and start seeing it from a whole plant instead of just one molecule being the reason. So I'm not surprised that you're taking that position in mycology, which I'm getting the fungus communication down.
Getting your fungus.
No, when I lived in Oregon, it was really easy to cultivate shiitake mushrooms. I used to like to grow them, but I wasn't a fan of eating them. But lion's mane, I'm
really tasty.
Now shiitake. Now I'm open.
Awesome.
I wasn't open to it back then.
What's wrong with you? Those are the best.
People grow, right? I mean, as you grow, your palate refines and changes, and I've realized I really do enjoy mushrooms prepared, you know, with some thought behind them. My son's become a pretty good cook. I'm looking to try what he's been doing. Everyone develops a skill. during COVID, right? It's
Well, it's interesting. It's like mushrooms kind of follow the same line as cannabis, where people who weren't exposed before, because now it's so regular, billboards, every highway's paid for by cannabis, everybody's driving along in their car, they see it everywhere. So now they get real used to it. So then when CBD became, available, it wasn't such a big leap for people to go, oh, well, I'll try a little of that. And, 90% of the stuff that was out there or more was pretty much like hardly even really medicinal in any way, because it was all just commercial fluff, right? And then there'd be like the real deal, which if you got from somebody who did small batch and put care behind it, and like all of a sudden that shit worked like magic, and so it fueled the other 95% of the bullshit out there. And unfortunately that's going to happen across the board with this too, because especially when you start talking microdose, that the average person, if it's real, they're going to notice it especially over a week or two or a month. They're going to be, oh my God, it's so much more productive. But if it's bullshit, they may believe it and it might work for them for a little bit, but reality is it's so easy for people to just front load that shit. And so, when you guys did your stuff here in Denver, that was kind of like written to keep all that not happening, right? That was kind of the idea behind all that, I hope.
Well, it was a decriminalization.
Yeah. So
there's no like oversight. All it says is that if you're 21 or older, that you can possess as much as you want of psilocybin or psilocybin-containing mushrooms. We didn't have the opportunity at that level. I
like
how in depth it is.
Right.
As much as you want.
It's like the legal terms where they say this contract exists from the beginning of time. Yeah. Till the end of time. you're wrapping it up. Yeah. Just in a big package.
Yeah, we went into talks with the DA, and it was pretty much like, how can you tell me how much is a personal amount? And they let it ride.
Where were you when we were putting the medical law together and coming up with a limit for cannabis? It was like, we just think it could be any amount. I would have liked that on our side.
Well, the ridiculous thing here was where they were saying, like, you could have X amount of plants, but you could have only this amount of weight. Right. I was like, so you're trying to say I could grow, like, 10 grams of plant or something like that? Doesn't make sense.
We only are licensing shitty growers.
Yeah, not allowed to grow good plants.
The sad thing is that you can walk into a liquor store and theoretically you could buy out the place if you wanted to, which is enough to kill
Why is that a problem?
Many human beings.
What's wrong with that? Never heard anybody before.
Well, when you have other substances that are banned from us, it's something to measure against.
Yeah, 100%. And never. That's been the gripe since the beginning was, treat it like alcohol, and that went like immediately left, where they're like, all right, first we're going to tax it like 5 times more than alcohol, plus we're going to limit it where you can't buy it,
change packaging regulations every 4 weeks,
you can't sell it within this zone to this, just like they put so many limitations on it, and yet it still kicked its ass and made more money for taxes than alcohol within a couple of years. They're just like, with all the limitations behind it. Psychedelics, again, will do the same thing, where if they'll just look at it, they'll see the money side and not the therapy side. So keeping it out of that commercial spectrum is, it's important, but unfortunately it won't last very long, because I feel like it's going to be one of those, probably the most exploited fucking...
I think there's a real medical benefit and a real medical movement to create an entire psychedelics therapeutics industry.
What all the protocols and all the basically how it's going to roll out. Mm-hmm. Like they put in a 2-year incubation period, and they've been in intense talks like day after day after day to figure out what this is going to look like, who's going to get licensure. They're going to be pretty liberal with it, which is something we had concerns about, but they didn't include the decrim part. Oregon decrimmed all drugs, but they say that you can have 4 grams of mushrooms. So that means if you
It is criminal then. That's not decrimmed.
No, well, it's Prohibition 2.0 is what we like to call it. If you walk out of the woods with some cyanescens and wet weight, right? So, 4 grams of wet weight is going to equate to 0.4 grams of dry weight. And anything more than that is a felony. Then you go into felony land.
So the guy sitting right over there has a question for you that he feels important to use the digital media. So you read that. See that one from Mike Denver right there? Let's do the right thing. You missed it?
Dude,
why don't you just ask?
You're talking about Baeosystin?
Yeah. Do cubensis have Baeosystin?
They do, but not in the amounts that the Psilocybin Baeosystis does.
Okay.
I actually met the gentleman that discovered it back in 1967. He's 80 years old now and wants to like come back into the research area, but he was working at the University of Michigan under one of the same mentors as Paul Stamets, I believe, and discovered this compound. And I know one person that has actually taken it by itself, isolated, and it didn't really do anything. So what I was talking about, the entourage effect, that it's almost like the Baeosystin needs the psilocybin.
It's the CBD. It's the CBD portion. It's that I feel good when mixed together in the entourage effect with THC, right? I'm using it.
Yeah,
speaking to the.
There's like a 1 to 16 ratio that like THC to CBD that really kicks it into gear. Was it 1 to 20?
Well, I think that's when you start to see real beneficial effects. But at 1 to 1 is where it really seems to be like that's actually like
narcotic.
It's where it's like it's only 12% THC. Oh, but it has 11% CBD. Oh, that's why it's got this real full body vibe to it, where it's not just all instant quick high. It's more of a creeper high. It comes in later, and you're like, yeah, I'm definitely feeling much more medicinal in the sense of like it's lasts the whole time, instead of being like tastes kind of good and then I feel kind of high and let's smoke some more. You know what I mean? That's like typical most weed out there.
Yeah, that people have just selectively bred it to be THC dominant, and then now we're looking at all these other things.
Right.
It'd be really cool to go back to like the stuff that grew roadside, 50 years ago, and take that for a drive.
Cow patty side.
Well, there's also like the ability now, because everyone's relaxed a little bit, for things to take their course sort of naturally, where people can do open pollination, large scale, like grow a whole field, throw different varieties in there, let them do their thing on a scale that actually would be closer to nature. You know what I mean? Like, even though it hasn't been before that, everybody was all just having to be super clinical about everything, tight, females only, get rid of all the males, either do clones or pre-selection or however they had to do it. Now it's there's actual ability for people to just say, fuck it, we have unlimited, like in Oklahoma there's unlimited plant count, right? So you can just fill a field with as many different varieties and let them do their thing, and you'll find some interesting, because nature tends to fucking figure it out way better than you thinking. Oh yeah, this one's called cookies, this one's called cereal. Cookie cereal.
Damn,
like,
look at that.
That's kind of where people are at now. They've just dumbed it down almost to that point, whereas on a breeding side, it's really more, you're looking for certain traits, and it takes 4 or 5 or 6 generations before you really get to the point where those traits are recognized, stable in a way that you're like, okay, now it's a real thing, where it's like I give you a pack of 10 and you're going to have most of them leaning on, you can actually narrow it down to 1 or 2 things. That's what you want. Most people, it's just like slap it together, move on to the next, slap it together, move on to the next, because everything after that is work. You know what I mean? Like the first slapping it together, easy. Everything from that point on becomes real work, because you have to track everything, and that's a nightmare if you're a stoner in the first place. You don't want to write shit down, so you're like, remember, it's the one with the crooked leaf.
No, you won't.
And then the crooked leaf all of a sudden straightens itself out because you got the newts right. Fuck.
Who moved my plants?
It used to have a crooked leaf, and now, because you figured it out after a while, and now it's growing normal. There goes your tracking system, So people have to write shit down. That's the hard part. Is it the same with doing mushrooms? Is it like take multiple generations before you really see what you want, or does it like happen? Because I'm curious how that always goes, because it's like. So
I've never crossed cubensis to cubensis. I had this strain that is known as the penis envy fall in my lap a few years ago, and I've taken tons of types of mushrooms, and it just really struck me as like the one. Just really did it for me. And
of course it's called penis envy.
Mark. Dude, I definitely have a penis envy story. I took like 0.4 one day. It was at the end of a Broncos game. I took it. We were about to go play disc golf. I was like, just chilling, gonna have a chill Sunday afternoon, and like, it was not chill, man. Like, by the time we got there, like, it was funny because I didn't want to tell my buddy that I was tripping. I don't know why.
Because you were driving.
It was a thing that I like made up while I was tripping. I shouldn't tell him. It was. Oh yeah, that's right. I was driving because I didn't expect him to hit me that hard. But man, no, like, I came home and it was all like life changing. I was like crying, talking to my mom and shit. Like, it was like,
Mom.
And then the next week he comes on the show is, dude, I had such a penis envy weekend, and I'm like, like everyone's like, what's he talking about? And he didn't
crazy.
Elaborate any further. Just said, had a crazy penis envy weekend.
It was like traumatic. I didn't think it was gonna be be that bad. Like, I was, like, there's that meme. It's like, that wasn't a microdose, and it's like the dude sitting next to the triceratops or whatever. And like, it's all like, yeah, that was me.
So let me take your breath away. I've taken up to 8.6 grams of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
I plan on taking bigger doses.
Yeah, those had something going on there. When I broke it open, it was like baby powder blue. I'll try and find the picture. But yeah,
they're like edible DMT.
It was crazy.
Really,
man.
If you potentiate it with a little MDMA, it literally is edible DMT.
Jeez,
it's something else.
Yep.
So as soon as I encountered them, I didn't want anything else. I never wanted to do LSD again. I've been offered the best, and I'm like, I'd rather take the penis envies. There's just something that really works well with me.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you like eating penis envy?
Nah.
I mean,
More
you
than
could
LSD?
you could say it like that.
Come on, it would lead to that's the. Anybody who wants to make up a really good joke using penis envy mushrooms, send it to dundeal@adamdunnshow.com, and we will send you a liter of fish shit.
There you go.
A liter of fish shit, right?
Yeah.
So
who doesn't want fish shit?
Who doesn't want a liter of fish shit? Mike's going like, fuck, he's writing it down. He's like, get me off. And he's like, I don't want to give up these headphones right now. Dave's in my head, man. He's in my head. Rosendogs, do you know what Mike Denver's hair looks like? I want you to picture Ron Duguay, 1978, on the ice for the Rangers. Flowing hair, as he skated around. That's what I'm looking at right now. Or Adrian Adonis. You pick.
Hey, I was going to ask, too, about the entourage effect. Have you ever taken Cubensis with, like, lion's mane? I know
as a micro.
Okay.
What I did a few days ago, and I clued Adam into this, I have heard stories of ethnobotanists going down into South America and asking the shamans down there, how do you know so much about the plants that are here, given you've only been here for X amount of time? And they said the ayahuasca told us. So I said to myself, well, why couldn't I use psilocybin to communicate to other mushrooms? So 3 days ago, I ate a shit ton of reishi and took psilocybin and communicated to the reishi.
And we're not, anyone who thinks we're not big mushrooms, come on.
Yeah, right.
And what about, have you ever mixed Amanita with Cubensis? Have you ever tried that?
I haven't tried Amanita yet, but I have some dried in my cupboard. They're not scheduled, which is really, really cool. But I think I'm ready. It's like a very silent, very still type of experience. And I think that most people, it's like a K-hole, but from a mushroom. And I think I'm ready with all the work that I've done in my other medicine, paths to come to the Amanita.
Yeah, I've had that combo, and I really enjoy that. I found a bunch this summer off of a trail. They were just everywhere, so I picked some. And with those, you're supposed to like, there's two different compounds, and you're supposed to like dry them out like in the sun. Is that right?
High temp dry.
High temp dry.
And then you boil it.
And then
for like an hour.
Okay.
Or you can feed it to a reindeer and then drink its pee.
You pick.
Yeah, you pick.
You pick. You decide, Mike. I mean, reindeer piss or...
Don't tempt him. Don't tempt him with a good time.
He's like, wait a minute. Last night, me and that reindeer...
And then another way that I just heard of recently is to take fresh ones and boil them in milk.
Interesting.
That neutralizes the compounds that you don't want to take.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You boil it in there?
In milk.
Oh.
And then also too, I'm kind of been reading about this lemon tech where you just take cubensis and you make a tea with lemon.
Tech?
Yeah, and then supposedly like the lemon kind of breaks down the chitinase in the mushroom a little bit and makes it a little bit more available.
So what it does is it changes the psilocybin into psilocin.
Oh, okay.
And that's what your body. Were you here when we were talking about orange juice?
I would think so, yeah.
So lemons just happen to be more acidic.
Okay.
And yeah, it like gets it going. It shortens the experience, but it really ramps it up. It makes it way more intense. You know, quicker onset. You go way farther. Shorter duration.
And so, what's like your recipe on that? You like boil water and then add the lemon and mushroom.
So people do it a couple ways. They could take the mushroom powder and soak it in lemon juice, and then add the hot water later, or make the tea with lemon in it. Lemon hurts my stomach, so I just have chosen to take way more mushrooms. That's my formula.
It's a good formula.
Keep it simple, right?
Yeah, I had a friend that was getting off on a gram plus lime juice and having the time of his life, and I tried for weeks to mimic that formula, and at the end of the day I couldn't. It just wasn't doing it. So I just said, I know how to get to where I'm going. Mm-hmm. I took 5. So the lemon tech.
What about chocolate? Because that seems to be a good
if you use good chocolate, the cacao has vasodilation properties, which makes your veins bigger, so there's better delivery. And it also works with your opioid system as well, and it also adds zinc, so it supports it in different ways. And it masks the taste of the mushroom.
Sure. Which, I think that's the part where most people, they have bad reaction in their youth, usually to terribly cooked mushrooms. Texture is always a weird thing. Everybody's so texture orientated.
This one I wanted to taste. I put it straight in my mouth and just chewed it.
Of course.
I wanted that experience again.
Well, it is good to know kind of what is usually anything that's bitter or doesn't taste so good is a good indicator that you're onto something.
Acrid is the word that I tend to use for that flavor.
I think it's the problem that people end up it comes back. It's after it's all gone, they look at that one, and all of a sudden you get saturated. It's almost like with making edibles. When you make cannabis edibles, there's a certain point where you're just it's on your hands, it's on the counter, it's in the air, it's it's everywhere, and you've eaten it, and now you've had, you just you're over it. At that point, your body almost now the smallest amount, and you're back. It sends you right back to the same spot. You're oh, now I remember.
That's another thing I like about the penis envy is it doesn't have that strong flavor. Mm-hmm. That I think it's the fats and the sugars ultimately, because I've extracted them at this point, and there's just way less. Have you encountered the goo yet?
Yeah.
So the goo, why it's gooey, are the fats and the sugars that they haven't removed out yet.
Yeah, because that was 10 years ago, or close to that, maybe 9 years ago or something like that, and it was everywhere. Not everywhere, but it was around, and then kind of disappeared.
There's probably one person that was making it in Oregon.
Yeah, it was
and when he paused, right, then they were nowhere. Or there's a story that Dead & Company bought all of it up.
Yeah, because it was amazing. It was definitely one of those. It was one of those things where, the classic where I rolled up a little, yeah, would you say BB size? So I rolled up what I thought BB size, and right before I took it, that's a lot bigger than a BB, and I was just kind of oh, well, oops, sorry, anyway. And then, it was in New York City, too, which is, I've never tripped in New York, even though I was born, I grew up there, but I left young, so it's, never really tripped there, and I was, standing in, we were in, the oldest, one of the oldest bars in New York, so I had, the tin roofs, classic low tin roofs, and once it kicked in, everything just was, I was holy shit, those definitely have the zero stomach effect.
Methanol extraction will eliminate that.
Straight to the point. It was 15 minutes on, but it was also real short too. It didn't it was a nice, once it was over, it was over, instead of being to linger. It didn't linger so long.
That sounds like a good mushroom to use in a therapeutic environment. A short duration, intense effect with a therapist, help you get over something. not have to go to therapy for 30 years.
The short duration is definitely why I lean towards mushrooms versus LSD as well. There's something about the LSD molecule. It basically is a barb, and it antagonizes the receptor site and stays in it longer than psilocybin does. But yeah, some of the really big doses I've taken are hard on your body, you know, so it's good that it's over in like 5 hours, then you can like rest, you know, instead of being in this like transcendent state, which requires a lot of like your body to be like, you're probably burning a shitload of calories and just to support that experience. But yeah, people overall I think would benefit from shorter duration, because if they're having a difficult experience, then it won't last long.
It's like the DMT. It's like the last thing you remember when you're about to go in. It's like, it's only going to be like 10 minutes. And then it's like, and you're like, you're like, the longest 10 minutes ever, you know, so, or not, or the other way around, where you're just like, that was 10 minutes? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
That was the toad.
Yeah.
You know, I was definitely out or in for 20 minutes, but it just seemed like it was very quick, you know, but it was so ridiculously transcendent. You know, it's probably the most profound experience of my life other than being born. You know, I don't remember that, but...
Maybe you could remember it if you took enough.
Well, the mushrooms have at one point allowed me to perceive myself in the womb before I had bias or identity.
Wow. Wouldn't it be something getting him to talk to Dr. Mark on a show one day? I mean, they would explore...
We're going to do these monthly, so this will be like our third Friday or whatever Friday this is, we're going to...
Do you know Dr. Mark Bronstein?
I don't believe so.
So he runs a clinic in Durango, California, New York, and uses ketamine-assisted psychedelic therapy. Would use other, molecules if they were available. We met with some a think tank and a fund out of some European island, and they're exploring, what they're talking about is the future of psychedelic medicine changing in the next 24 months, like massively changing.
The past of psychedelic medicine will inform us so much if we just look back to traditional use, because they already figured it out. Mm-hmm. They've already had this relationship with it. They already have a dialogue and a cultural attaché for the medicine. It's so... And these practitioners, I believe, and I hardly use the word should be taking these big doses repeatedly, because then they'll actually find out what the medicine is doing. I couldn't even begin to fathom what I would look like on the other side of 2 years, 30 heroic doses later. And there's a lot of composting that's happened with what I like to call my accumulated humanness, my programming that's gotten me to this point. The amnesia that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And these medicines really break down all those programming so that you can live freer, within the context of, what we call the matrix or whatnot. But, things like compassion and surrender are so penultimate to our human experience, but we suffer so much at our own hands. So I believe these people should just be taking the medicine.
Well, I think the key is, like you were saying earlier, obviously setting the setting, having that ability to disconnect from your daily deals for a couple days, knowing that it's gonna be a ride. I'm talking to do what you're talking about, heroic doses and stuff like that. So most people, it's so hard for them to even get to that moment where it's how am I going to turn it, because turning off for 48 hours or 72 hours is impossible.
Can't get somebody to turn off for 15 minutes.
Well, I have compassion for that, and I hold space. This is one of the things that I do for people to have experiences and for the integration that takes place after the fact. But, we don't, ultimately, if we have the choice, we don't want to be as plugged in as we are. It's just like dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. It's just we don't know how to survive without it. And most of us don't meditate, so we don't actually realize that we are not our thoughts, which is wild, So I'm excited for more and more people to have these experiences so that there's a much more diverse population that's talking about the different aspects of this work to entice people that are stuck to really get to that precipice.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so true.
And it's interesting too, because there's so many people out there that don't know that this is the thing that's going to change their view, and they're not looking for it, but it'll find them, you know what I mean? And it's cool because now it's kind of released and it's out there available, you know what I mean? Which is crazy, because before it was always like, this single source, same guy would have the shitty weed, would have the shitty mushrooms, you know what I mean? You didn't have a chance to, I remember, and that, so I just kind of had that like hit or miss kind of thing growing up with shrooms, where it was like, occasionally with the right people and then just the right thing, and it worked out great. But 90% of the time, you were, one of your friends was out in the woods with a knife running around like an idiot or something, you know what I mean? And you'd be like, what happened? Oh, dude, he took a bunch of shrooms and he's out there running around with a knife. You're like, great. It's just what you want to hear, I had shit like that growing up where it's just like, it would be like that, and it was like, who gave him the shrooms? And I'd be like, me, I was like, Adam, why'd you do it? Why'd you give him the shrooms? Like, because there's always, that reaction. There's usually one out of the crew. There's always one out of every so many people that doesn't really get the positive side of it at all.
So it's trauma, right? The mushrooms love to eat trauma. Mm-hmm. They love to bring it to the surface and have you find the hidden wisdom in it and disconnect you from the fact that it, like PTSD is something that happens to you over and over again that did happen in the past. So the mushrooms disconnect that, and now it's something that happened to you, but not something that continues to happen to you. Mm-hmm. But the only way out is through. Right. And I've had some ridiculously harrowing experiences, but it was necessary to find the hidden wisdom in it, mm-hmm. to love it, and to get to the other side and integrate it.
Right. Yeah, well, integration is the whole key to the thing, and that's usually what gets lost when it's, just part of a weekend and people are tripping and you don't get that. There's no intention,
There's no container, is how we describe it, mm-hmm. And nowadays you can go in with that. You can sit down with everybody what's our group intention? And it's amazing how the mushrooms really assist that into fruition.
Right. Yeah, because of course it's going to be hopefully the last thing that before you wait for the message, you know what I mean? Where it's like, it's going out, and if it's going out at that moment and it's real, then you should get an answer pretty quick, you know what I mean? It should come back to you pretty fast. Whereas, a lot of times, kind of like the same we were talking about when I was with edibles, and when you forget what you took is when it fucking snaps you silly, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're like, that's when people get fucked up to the point, because it will keep you from remembering the fact that you did it to yourself, you know what I mean, until you figure that out at one point where you're like, because there's times where you're doing different things and you're not really paying attention, and you get handed, you think, no big deal, but 45 minutes or an hour later, you're not even sure which direction you're going.
I've been there.
And you're like, am I having a stroke? Am I dying? Like, what's going on? And then at a certain point you might figure it out, usually it's like usually it makes you laugh at yourself for that moment to realize where you were, because your brain can take you in every direction the minute you don't know what it was. So I feel like I think that's the part with psychedelics that was always, for me, the hard part of being able to surrender, was the fact that I was part of a crew and I was the one giving it to everybody, so I had to kind of play the big, watch everybody else's react. So I was always in that mode where I was that person, and occasionally I wasn't, which is super nice, like the best feeling ever, when you're like, really, I don't have to do it, someone's gonna watch me, this is fucking great. So in group settings, I think it's hard because people are used to the control of now I listen to Pink Floyd in my room with the thing and the do, and then I look at the thing and I go, whoa, because it works, you know what I mean? It works for them. But when you start to go into the group setting, then I think you get so much more out of it, because you come out with sometimes crossover experiences, which are like, dude, were we there? I swear to God, we were there. You're like, we were there, bro.
Together, man. So I think about it as a local area network. like a LAN party.
Yeah.
So you pretty much have access to everybody's like library of experience up to that point, and there's so much communication that we're doing on the subtle level that like we might be communicating verbally, but there's a lot more going on. And the psychedelics really put you in an expanded state. So you're a lot that kind of thing is a lot more influenceable. Malleable, yeah. So the group effect is really cool, especially like if everybody's like on the same wavelength, then the amplitudes, because of wave physics, the amplitudes combine, and then you're way, way up there.
Yeah, this is where I would tell a dead story about how that's very similar when you came together with 5 or 6 friends and you all tripped together at the same time, and your commonality was you were going to experience the music together.
Well, yeah, then it's tribal at that point too.
Yeah.
Because then you're cruising as a crew, and you're going around the other bigger tribe. You're coming from the small tribe to the big tribe, and then you get the whole. That's the part of that I love when it's those are the magical ones when you're like, wow, that was great because you all did something together and went to some crazy spot, and then that becomes the new weed spot, right? They talk about the fucking experience.
I think about crazy experiences I've had and I talk about. So everybody has to take my word for it. But when you have a group that experiences something together, you're now all part of the story. Right? And I think that's just so much more affirming.
Yes, absolutely. Isn't that the secret? Positive mental image, projection will lead to that outcome.
Where attention goes, energy flows, something like that. Yeah.
Some hippie swag.
No, listen, I think that there's a future. From personal experience, it wasn't easy growing up. It wasn't. There are a lot of things that I have taken a long time in a therapeutic environment and worked hard on. But one acid trip at a Dead show gave me incredible
story, guys. Here it comes.
No,
we need Dave's.
That was it. It was where I was. That was my church. You have your church.
You need a theme.
So I follow Fish. So I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Yeah. If the music can do it for you, then allow it to be the catalyst for enlightenment, right? If it puts you in a place that allows you to come to it on your own, more power to you, or bless you, depending on what your view is. It's you win, right? So that was an enjoyable time.
So what other? So I think Denver. Okay, so Denver's kind of got it figured out. But what about the rest of the state? I mean, is there other counties that are looking at Denver and seeing? Because it hasn't really turned.
Right now on my radar is Aspen. I was invited to go out there and collect signatures to put together a petition to take to city council, not an official petition like we did, to get it on the ballot, but just to show city council that there is popular support for this. So in Denver, it's really unique that it's a city and county, so it made it very doable for us. If Boulder wanted to go, you'd have to go county-wide.
Right.
It doesn't work out in the same way in Colorado, but in this state there are 30 what we call home rule municipalities, and allow us to make laws that aren't necessarily in accordance with the state laws, so that we can do that.
Right. Because we know Moffat's already down, so we got you a town. Ready to roll.
And then
approval.
There's a lot of places like Telluride where it's kind of unspoken that it's decriminalized.
You been to the festival there?
Oh yeah, I was there. I spoke at the festival
this year.
Yeah. On
how'd it go?
Amazing. Community sovereignty and the right to heal with entheogens was the talk, and we were on a panel. Duffy was on the panel with me, and
shout out to Duff. He'll be here next month.
It's powerful. It's really cool to, there's a cultivation term, inoculate, right? Inoculate the people that are there so that they can go out into their communities with this information and be emboldened and empowered.
Yeah.
That these stigmas and the lies that we've been told, like it's not gonna hold. It's not sustainable, you know. So to wield the truth, and to be able to like speak to the choir in that way is just really amazing.
Yeah, no, we saw at the Energy Fair. That's where we saw Duff, and it was really cool to listen to all the people talking, and you could really feel the vibe, how everything's turning to the point where it's just like classic, where all we have to do is tell the stories and tell the truth, you know, tell what's really out, and it's just like people are ready to hear it, whereas before, you know, hippie bullshit, and you know, and it was funny because the vibe at that place was hippie, it was, you know, windy, booths were flopping everywhere, and it had some, but the information that was coming out of there was fucking rock solid, and we were like listening to it. I was like, dude, it's like we're listening to a really good podcast right now, because these guys are like on, because usually the sound quality shit, you know what I mean, the production value was really good, and it was just cool to see that the panel was like diverse and on point, and yeah, I feel like there's so many different layers to it that are coming out, like with mushrooms in general. It's kind of like how hemp has a huge spectrum of things. When you look at not just psychedelic mushrooms, but growing mushrooms on scale for industry, that should get people's attention, just because it's fucking, you know, it's doing it itself. It's doing all the work, right? So you're just like capitalizing on making your packaging or whatever product. Did you ever worked with any people like that, or seen any of that kind of stuff? Impressing you? I'm
like flirting with a lot of periphery stuff that's like that, and I have so many things that just come to me, you know, like opportunities, or you know, to farm large scale, or to like get involved with other campaigns, and I'm very like, I follow my passion. Yeah. But it's really cool what's happening. There's like mycelium that's being used as packaging now instead of styrofoam. They know that oyster mushrooms can clean up oil spills. I mean, we could be here all day. It's pretty amazing. But when you consider that mushrooms terraformed this planet, made it habitable for the rest of complex biology to show up, like, to me, it's just no surprise that it holds all the keys to helping us peacefully evolve through where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's as diverse in that way too, because that was my whole thing about loving hemp, is that it's like one day I'm talking to somebody about materials, next day I'm talking to somebody about, you know, concrete, next day I'm talking to somebody about wood replacement, you know, so it was like, just kept going. And I think with mushrooms in general, like if you're growing, you're learning every day too, and then there's somebody like I remember making jokes like, yeah, well, the day somebody makes some hemp, some, you know, mushroom clothes, talk to me. But now I've seen standards, and I'm all like,
oh, yeah, Amadou, yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen all that. I was like, they got me on that too. So I mean, the reality is you can do just, but you know, just.
Let me ask the dumb question then, because right, if I wanted to grow cannabis, I would say, can I get some seeds from you? Give me a cut. How do you transport mushroom spores to me? What's the commonality?
In 46 states, you can order them on the internet, and the guise is for microscopy use only, and that's how you get your spores. And then everything else is pretty readily available, you know, especially over the internet.
Is there a trusted website that you go to? Because we would go to seedsherenow.com.
Mushrooms.com.
That is easy.
Sounds just like Seeds Here.
Who knew?
It should be Mushrooms Now.
Mushroomsnow.com.
They should change it. No.
Well, the guy that's
someone's already on it.
The guy that's been running that website has been running it for a long time. He's a good guy.
Well, where do we get this penis envy from, other than standing next to somebody at the urinal who's just porn starish?
To cultivate it?
Yeah.
I mean, I could facilitate that for you.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Well, you talk
deals.
about you. We have one of the preeminent leaders in mycology sitting here says, I don't need to cultivate anything else other than penis envy. If everybody didn't just mic drop, you know.
He's looking at you and he's like, that guy, definitely penis envy right there. Without even
make your jokes. I told you the best joke to Dunn deal at AdamDunnShow.com gets a liter of fish shit. That's $100. We have 5 of them to give away. So the best 5 jokes, if you send them in, or in fact, as I sit here right now, and maybe we'll put a picture of him, if you make up an image of Mike Denver in a diaper as a fish, for fishheadfarms.com.
You will definitely win.
You will definitely win. Definitely win. Incorporate a mushroom.
You can pull your picture
into
up
it.
now. You're allowed.
Yeah, Mark, pull up your 8-pack.
You're allowed
Since
to
you
pick
don't
it.
know what we're talking about, we have a sponsor, fishheadfarms.com. Fishhead Farms in Vermont.
Well, I figured it was fertilizer.
Maine.
Yeah, this is the.
Yeah?
Yes. So this is them right there, and it's fish shit. And the funny thing is, hopefully you'll get a kick out of it, but he puts that fish shit logo in the middle of a steal your face on a tie-dye.
Great.
And people don't get it, that it's a soil nutrient. They come up to me and they go, I don't like fish either. And I'm like, dude, I'm not dinging fish. Plus, it's not even spelled that way, man. You know, but I love the shirt. So
one of our fans, one on the left and one on the right, they both won.
the one on the left was a teenager, and they won 5 liters, $500 worth of fish shit, and that's actually Mark. So they shouldn't have won anything.
Yeah,
they really didn't do anything.
No Photoshop.
They just put a diaper on our
Just
actual
a diaper,
producer.
not the Adonis 6-pack.
No, that's actually Mark.
Yeah.
If he was Jason Momoa.
Exactly. So
I'm surprised they haven't merged the two SH's together to just be fish it.
I know.
Ooh,
That's stoner enough.
Tommy.
I know.
Tommy, are
Fish
you
it.
listening?
Fish it. Well, they had
Somebody
to change,
take Mike Denver's phone
they had
from
to
him
change
right
it to
now.
They changed the I there because they got in trouble. They got in
Right.
trouble.
I mean, I would still differentiate.
Just fish it.
So you can still see the two words, like a color
No,
kind
I
of like
see it, dude.
overlay.
They make a great nutrient product.
But it has sh in the middle too.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Don't talk about it.
See that says fish. We know we fucked up.
Yeah.
Tommy, you fucked up. I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier. See, someone else had to come in here and show you that she says ish. Come on.
All right. So I'm going to be the noob again. What are the entry costs into cultivating your own mushrooms at home?
If you are a silo doing it unto yourself, you could spend hundreds of bucks getting a pressure cooker and all the things that you need. But if you have a friend that has the equipment, like $7 worth of consumables can grow you a 1/4 pound of mushrooms.
Dig it.
Like if you came over and used my setup, it would cost you, I don't know, $35 to really have a lot of mushrooms.
Well, we're family since we're both mushrooms. Just evolved.
In general, though, it is definitely way easier once it gets rolling. It's just a matter of getting it rolling, I think, and getting over that.
Well,
having somebody do the hard work for you, so you don't have to deal with the sterility seems to be the biggest problem for most people if they're trying to do it from the beginning.
It's technique, right? So if you learn the technique, then some of those other things aren't as difficult. But like a flow hood changed my whole life.
Laminar flow hood, yes.
I went from like being in my bathroom and lysoling the F out of it, and then like hoping to get a successful spore syringe in a grain bag.
Yeah.
And like
Fighting against
most of them would
everything.
take. It did pretty well, but with the flow hood, it started like I was working with 100% success rate, and that just changed my confidence. Changed I could work with petri dishes, which is something I really couldn't do with a still air box too well. And then when you can work with petri dishes, you can do so much more. You can select certain parts of the mycelium to go on into the process. You can put 2 myceliums in the plate with each other and let them cross.
Need more mushrooms? You need more. Oh. Got a look on your face. You got a look on your face. I've seen some people just kill it, like just be able to, out of a very small area, be able to really put out amazing amounts of shrooms. And I've seen other people
going inside in 20 minutes.
Fail miserably with Tampanesis back in the day, trying to do that. Pressure cookers and cleaning for things, and very, very, very hard for them to seed it. And do you ever work with Tampanesis? Ever try? Or
Not yet, but there's a bag sitting on my dining room table that someone gifted me of the mushrooms, not the sclerotia, which are like the truffles.
Okay. Oh, the mushrooms that come off the top of those. Are they really small?
They're really tiny.
Yeah, that's what I remember them saying.
They're really tiny.
Tiny, and you need quite a few, like 40 of them or something.
I'm gonna experiment with them. I tried the pan-cyans recently. We were talking about this earlier today. In Telluride, I ate a 1/2 gram, and all the Panaleas have Am I saying it right?
Paneolas.
They all have serotonin in the mushroom. So you get the benefit of taking serotonin in, and to me, it really blew me away with a small amount. And that's now I have another strain or another species that I'm hot to cultivate and work with, besides the penis envy. But the Tampanalis is another one. It's been introduced to me as a really good beginner mushroom that people seem to have very light-hearted experiences on them.
Yeah, for a while they're the only ones legally you could get in Holland because they weren't technically mushrooms, so they kind of got away with that, riding that side. So you could get, but it was funny too because they sold those fresh, and then they would keep the dried mushrooms behind the counter anyway. So it didn't matter. The Dutch never listened to any fucking rules.
I'm hearing Steve in my head going, "They don't sell mushrooms at these stores anymore, man. It's
they do.
This other stuff, man."
They'll always be able to, because they're allowed. For a while, it was only fresh, but as you'd be selling them, they'd be literally drying in the container. Because especially with you couldn't do it with the cubensis because they were too big and too much moisture. But with the Sianeses, they would, after a while, they were just throwing in dried ones. Nobody's fucking, whatever. But pretty much because those you get 1 gram dry, whatever it was, wet. But they were, those are the ones. I mean, those are out of all the different types. Those seem to be the ones that had the straight up, shortest duration, straight down. Whereas the other ones that are a little more rolly, cubensis seem to have that little. You ever get that second nudge with those? Like some of them you get right away.
Well,
and then all of a sudden you get a little double nudge later.
If you eat the flesh, break it into pieces, then as the chitin is releasing the psilocybin, you'll get the waves. That's one thing I really like about the tea, because it's just straight drive. It comes on, you're in it, and then you come out of it.
Right.
But eating the flesh, like I said, as the chitin, which is essentially lobster shell. Think of it that way.
Sure.
That's what your body has to work against to get those molecules out of it. And then when I used
it has cytokinins in them, right? Which is that would be the thing coming out of the cytokin. Plants dig that. Plants love it. I'm not sure the benefits of us, but definitely tough shit. That's for sure.
Mike says it's crab.
It's
probably the same thing.
Same but different.
Ooh, he's a crab butcher now. Okay, all right.
What's the mushroom that one should be growing if they are just getting into mushrooms? Because it sounds like maybe out of the gate you might not want to go for the penis envy.
Well, I mean,
golden teachers tend to be sort of a intro
that's
level.
The word on the street. There's cubensis, in my opinion, that are a lot more aggressive aggressive fruiters, and that's a lot easier for a nervous first-time cultivator to deal with. The penis envy requires some shepherding. If you have
stroking, gotta stroke.
Yeah,
gotta stroke the penis envies.
It likes to be cloned, and it likes to just be watched and helped along. But there's other the Masatecs that just they want a fruit. They'll fruit out of anything. Golden Teacher is very similar, but they're all, even the penis envy is a cubensis.
Yeah.
So they're all you start out with mycelium, and then as soon as it takes over the food source, you can either go to a more complex food source, or you've heard of PF Tech before.
Yeah, actually.
You can fruit it off of the first thing that you introduce the mycelium to. So once it's colonized and once it consolidates, it fruits. So you just have to make sure that the environment is suited for each stage. But I would say that...
What's the total time frame?
From spore to mushroom, 60 to 70 days. You could cut that back a little bit if you use a smaller amount of substrate. It can colonize that quicker. But, for most things that I've done, it takes... up to 9 days for the spores to germinate, and then the mycelium's like a toddler, growing a little bit slow, and then once it figures out what it's eating, then it gets more aggressive, and
teenage years kick in and starts voracious.
Then it was
yeah.
And
spread my seed.
And after that, though, there's a couple flushes usually, or from the?
Depends on the strain.
Different strains, different.
Yeah, so the penis envy, 2 really strong flushes, and then everything else is kind of piecemeal. But when I've grown golden teachers, it'll go 5, 6 flushes, especially if you dunk the culture or resubmerge it in water to rehydrate it.
So get all of it back, so it kind of re-inoculates itself, or it's in there already. The
limiting factor turns out to be water, because the water, the mushrooms are like 10 times water to flesh. So when you dry them, it's like an 11-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
So if you don't have available water, then they really can't fruit, even if there's viable food left. So dunking them in between helps them to rehydrate to an extent, and then they can fruit more.
And I always wonder, like, with closed caps better than open caps, or is there a sort of different species?
So there's test kits floating around now, and there's literally 1% variability. So I think that you can end up with a cleaner grow if you don't let them sporulate, because once they spread spores everywhere, it's like kind of spores everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so I favor it because the mushrooms look better, they look healthier, because once they open their cap, right? Yeah,
they're more circumcised. But yeah, you can get much more even, and they hold together, and they're dosage-wise much more appealing when you're like, oh look,
yeah,
that's a nice size compared to a big chunk of this and a piece of that. So is it just, pretty much looking at the classic where you're look for the most purple, the most, is that?
Well, I have a few lines going. So one happens to be the bluest, most mutated little ones, and that has I have its own lineage. And then I have the one that's the most aggressive, and then I've battled them against trichoderma and bacteria and taken those most resilient lines forward. So I look for different qualities, and then take them forward, and eventually I'll be able to merge all of them, and then they'll be able to share their blockchain, if you will, of metabolics. Yeah.
Get on the mycelium network and talk to each other.
Do you recommend kind of doing that same process with any strain of mushrooms? Do you recommend cloning them and kind of isolating those properties you're looking to carry on?
I do. Yeah, it's. Once you start from spore, if you take a clone from a mushroom after that...
Explain how cloning a mushroom is.
So cloning a mushroom is where you take the mushroom itself and take a piece of its flesh. Typically, you take the mushroom and split it down the middle because there's less opportunity for bacteria to get to the core. And that little tiny piece of flesh, if you put that down on a petri dish, it will re-myceliate all over again. And from observing it, it almost seems like once the mycelium has expressed itself as a mushroom, it's that much more motivated to do that again. So you end up with way more mushrooms just because you've cloned the mycelium while it was a mushroom.
Yeah, while it was already.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's kind of like when you do a grow from spores, it's almost like a pheno hunt, from seeds, where there's all these different expressions coming up, and then you kind of want to select from there, isolate those traits that you want. And what you're saying is you're kind of doing some line work and kind of breeding, gonna breed them both together at the end. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's my theory. Yeah. Because if they're all if you find phenos that match, then they will actually join. When you have if you take spores and penis envy doesn't drop spores, so you have to go in there with a swab and then streak a plate, and then you end up with all these spore pairs that become essentially phenos, and a lot of them they're territorial, they won't overlap each other. So it's almost better to isolate a pheno and just have one organism colonize your food source so that there aren't competing phenotypes.
So fight to the death.
But they don't kill each other, they just don't
compete each other.
Right, they just draw a boundary.
Yeah.
I'm sure in the future we'll find out what communication is actually happening there.
Well, that was one of the things that Duff said that was interesting, and I liked how he put it. It was that it's how mycelium and mushrooms work as far as the communication is. It's all about first ask and then wait for the answer.
A lot of them.
is less. Well, I imagine there would be aggressive.
Right. They're like, I've just mined all these minerals, and I would like some of your sugars. Would you like to trade?
Yes, please.
And they wait for the plant to respond,
Right.
and then they
Exchange.
They exchange.
Yeah. Which
So
is
it's
awesome.
consent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool.
There's the word consent. I forgot what the word was. Oh yeah, consent.
Yeah.
Forgot about that word. But no, in general, it's pretty awesome, and that's the part that I think once you see it working, it's like, oh, well, fuck, I don't have to do anything now. This is way easier than we're so used to like forcing the hand on like, oh, we're going to feed them this at this date, which means they're going to force them to flower, and then we're going to give them more potassium, which is going to make bigger fruit. You know, we have it all figured out, right, in our head. But at the end of the day, that usually has a very bland kind of the flavor profile, which is because it's all based on exactly what you put in, which is exact to the T what they tell you to put in, and or you might have your own adjustment, whatever. But when you do it on a completely organic basis, it's more of a surprise at the end. You really don't know. You know, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, complex shit that you never even knew was in there pops out because the plant was dying to get what it needed, but you never gave it to it because you were giving it a very narrow window to work with. Like, yeah, you're going to eat this, and this is how it's going to come in. Yeah, you're
feeding the soil.
Yeah.
You know, essentially. While you were talking, it was reminding me of this book called Ishmael. Have you ever heard of that book about the enlightened gorilla?
Yeah.
So it makes this argument that when we started agriculture, that we no longer needed to forage, and because we could just grow what we wanted, then we could have surplus population. With surplus population came all kinds of problems. So it's really that like working with the plant on the plant's terms versus what we think our dominator culture, as Terence McKenna would talk about it.
Yeah, which is, but it's also the patience part there, because there's definitely a learning curve. Usually, sometimes you're lucky and it just all fucking falls into place and everything's perfect, but usually there's a little learning curve there, and it's getting over that, like understanding that everything needs to be adjusted once it is. It's like the root systems are different. Like if you have a hydro root system, it's very, like it knows there's nutrients right there, so it doesn't even try. But then you put it in the soil, and depending on the conditions of the soil, you have a totally different type of root system, and it's very, like it's constantly fucking nudging and scratching and looking and working hard, and that system is what you want. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's fucking, you pull it out, it's like huge, and you're like, oh my god, this is it. Whereas on hydro, you can sometimes have a 5-gallon bucket with a 20-foot tall plant if you could just feed it enough, as long as that 5-gallon bucket's connected to a 50-gallon reservoir, which you fill every other day, you know what I mean? So the size is not the problem, it's just the plant's not focused on doing anything else. Like there's no, whereas on soil, it's like all the minerals are used up, and you can tell at the end with your soil as you're using it what's getting pulled out or not, and but then you can also feed back and get a regenerative soil going, which is the key, I think. And then that's where mushrooms play a huge part, because you have per certain point of the plant is in a bacteria mode, and the other time it's in a fungal mode, and so utilizing that. And then I think with mycorrhizal is the other huge thing now, which is people finally figured out that there's a whole world under their freaking feet, which is, now everything looks different, right? Like if you're out in you start to see, that one's definitely, there's definitely communication between all these ones, this little group right here, this little, and
like an ecosystem.
Oh, huge.
Right? I want to do that with the mushroom cultivation as well. Figure out what those companion fungi and bacteria are, and use something called a PCR to pull out the DNA of what those things are. Because we might be able to essentially feed the livestock or inoculate the livestock with the bacteria that we want, so that when we use their poop to grow the mushrooms on, it's already good to go.
Yeah, and heard on NPR, they were talking to a guy who was producing they were basically just trying to figure out methane production, and because it's not from their farts, but from their mouth mostly, as far as the methane release, right? And that certain mushrooms and cannabis both were beneficial in reducing all those, to the point of 80% reduction. You know what I mean?
Come on.
Yeah, of course.
Let's go.
They sequester that stuff.
And kelp and seaweed, because seaweed's like the other driving force. So it's like seaweed, mushroom.
Plankton, probably, to some extent. You know, most of the air we breathe on the earth comes from plankton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
bonkers.
Amazing, right? It's not, well, it definitely, it's in our mind, it's always the leaf structure, but I mean, it's when you think about it, anything green that's out there, you know, it's doing the work. And like the amount of seaweed off like this on the west coast, especially, when you can really, you know, it's
kelp forests,
huge.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's like
well, we just thought that hemp would, you know, cure the air of greenhouse gases just by growing it. Now we can feed it to cows and not produce as much anymore.
There you go.
Seems logical. I wonder who will get arrested for publishing that information.
Micro is like a fucking information cop. Seaweed and kelp are not
Certainly
the same.
don't give the wrong word of the month, though.
What? Oh yeah, don't give in no way we're gonna ever get wrong word of the month again.
Speaking of word of the month,
during the show we do a monthly thing and we just blew it.
We gave away $1,000 LED with the co-founder of the company on, and they have to know the word of the month, but they used last month's word, and we all went,
like,
you win.
And then he won, and then it was just classic, because then like 10 minutes later, Micro, who's like the info cop right now, telling me seaweed and kelp are not the same. All right. But
we're on mushrooms at Meow Wolf.
Yeah, we
Come on,
get
man.
The facts straight. You know that. Definitely
Come
get the facts straight. But he noticed that we fucked up the word. It was too late at that point. We'd already given it.
Yeah.
Blamed it on the owner, pretty much. Well, not the owner. He's actually just
because he thought
a partner. He actually thought of the word of the month last month and was so happy that we used that he didn't even care anymore. So it was a shit show. It was basically a shit show, train wreck, as usual, as the show usually is.
But if you want to win a lamp,
but with a nugget,
what's today's
sprinkled
date?
in every time, you have to just leap in for 3 hours to find the fucking nugget every time. We've already
next Friday.
We've already dropped a few. What's that?
We're giving away a lamp. It's the last Friday of the month.
We might have to do it at fucking Rosendog shop.
Whoa! Were we planning on? We should do that. We should just change what our plans and
just try to figure it out.
Rosin, Mikey,
get it together.
What's the internet like where you are? And can you come pick us up at LaGuardia?
Yeah, and feed us.
Yes, and we need a place to stay.
Then you better be ready.
And we weren't kidding about any of that.
We'll bring bagels.
Why would I bring bagels to New York, man?
I know.
There, man.
Sand to the beach. Oh. Bringing fungus to the northwest. Like, I got these mushrooms.
I got these mushrooms. I grew them in Boulder, man.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah. Wait, Rosin might not be listening. We might have to go to Uncut Bush's house since he's listening. There he is. Yeah. Okay. Done. All right. Sweet.
We'll pick up our camera at the same time.
Yeah. No. We'll go look at the farm on Saturday. Sweet. Good.
Much better.
Yeah.
Sweet.
At least see how that happens.
Much better.
Fuck yeah.
That's the planning we like.
We're going to New York.
What part? New York City?
New York City. Well, upstate and
all
New
over.
York.
We're go to Ithaca, which
beautiful.
Is super dope.
Get one of those bumper stickers.
Best time of year.
It says Ithaca is gorgeous.
It
is.
Mark,
gorgeous.
Come on, buddy.
Ithaca's gorgeous.
Rim shot symbol. You don't even listen to the show.
I was directing traffic. Back here. Okay, I do lots of jobs back here.
Wow. I'm from Eastern PA.
Oh, nice.
So I've spent a fair amount of time up that way.
I drive through Scranton when I was going to Syracuse University all the time. That's Eastern PA, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's one of those most confusing places for me, from geographically, just because it seems to be like kind of all over the place. Where it's like Kentucky. Kentucky fucks me up sometimes because it goes so far. Like it's like, oh yeah, it's 3 hours from fucking Chicago. You're like, what? No, it makes no sense.
Well, you've heard it called Pennsyltucky before, right?
Yes.
Exactly. I know. That's what I mean. So those two states fuck me up. Where it's like, I'm like, how the fuck can they even be in the same thing? You know?
I lived in Pittsburgh.
Chicago.
There's somebody from Pittsburgh. I lived in Pittsburgh for
Pittsburgh in the house.
8 years.
My first dead show.
Yeah.
definitely a different vibe on psychedelics, I think, in the whole East Coast, and that they're in that kind of vibe of growing up where wasn't privy to the fact that there was so much going on. Like, of course, there was still, you could still, like, in New England, you could definitely find them wild, but, you know, it was like not easy. And like I said, it was always of dubious sources usually, but I think now, I mean, and it's weird because they've always had spores available since the 60s, like pretty much forever.
Since the
right?
McKenna's.
mushrooms.com.
Since the McKenna's.
Was the first one to be
available. And Dennis was like the first one to write a book on home cultivation.
And like that seemed to be like the one totally weird loophole availability things where it was just like always like it was. I remember in High Times Forever where it was just like, oh, you know, but very few people that I know are successful as far as doing the whole thing. It's the same as like they had the. Do you remember the crazy hash maker thing they used to have? I can't remember. I had one even, which was like an antique, but it looked like something out of Star Trek where it had these like different discs, and God, it was another aider, like the Triminator. But it was,
It was like density or something, and it used
no, and the whole thing was there was like charcoal.
Spun.
There was charcoal in those things, and all it was a light bulb. And you would put this little cup on top, and it would basically
the same thing.
Solvent would go up into this little thing, fall back on the outside, and drip into the lower thing. It was weird. It was like so simple, but it was like a convection hash making, oil making thing that you get like one drop for every like ounce. It was like definitely more like like the little fucking ovens, easy bake oven, like the easy bake oven of hash making, but. I'll remember the name. Just dope thing. But yeah,
that's.
I feel like that there was always those kits available, and but strangely enough, it was never like exploited in any kind of that I ever saw. I mean, I'm sure there's a few people that figured it out and explain the was it P-Tech or what was it called again?
PF Tech.
PF Tech, yeah. Because I read about it, and it seems to be like a very commercial, like the way a hydro grower would think as far as production.
Well, it's simple in the sense that you grow and fruit in one container. You know, and you can go right from spore into a jar that you prepare with brown rice flour. You take brown rice, put it in a blender, so you get some chunky pieces, some really fine pieces, and then mix it with vermiculite, and that's for water retention. And then once you mix the two of those in a little mason jar with so you drill some holes in it, and then pressure cook it, sterilize it, and it's ready to. It's like an in vitro situation. So you just put your spores in there, and it myceliates, and it produces some mushrooms. Not many, but if you're desperate and you don't have resources, it's a really viable option.
Can you then like take that into because I remember seeing like Rubbermaid sized containers that they were kind of doing where they were just stacking. That
is a two-step process. Well, you go from grain, you grow the mycelium on sterilized like rye grain, for instance, and then once it takes it over, then you break that up, and each one of those kernels becomes an inoculation point, and then you put that into what we call a bulk substrate. A lot of times it's manure, cocoa coir, something like adult food for the mushroom. And then each of those little grains expands in like a 360 way and takes over the bulk substrate quickly. And then that's what you get much bigger, more potent mushrooms off of.
And so there you would do them in maybe a 9x12 tray, whatever size you really want.
Yeah, they seem to 4 inches depth, but you can go as wide as you want.
4 inches.
Yeah.
That's your kind of girl. That's your kind of girl there, Dave.
Oh, I'm so in.
Yeah. That's the sweet spot. Yeah.
There you go. There we go. Yes. Reindeer P-Tech. That's it. Oh, yeah. And then humidity-wise, it's sort of like is there like a narrow window, or does it kind of...
I like 92%.
Okay, so just pretty much like top end of...
You can play with that a lot. The fresh air is way more important. like humidity, like you don't want it to dry out. So if you see that your mycelium is drying out, like up the humidity. So the penis envy likes it more humid.
You hear that, Mark?
Oh yeah.
Moist.
Yeah, there's if the water is transpiring or evaporating off the surface of the mycelium at a specific rate, no, it'll facilitate pinning.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's something that allows the mycelium to kind of know where the fresh air is coming from, but you don't want it to dry out too quickly. So if you're manually doing it, you kind of use a spray bottle a couple of times a day and kind of watch that condensation that's in the bin or whatever you're growing in. I have built a tent that has a humidistat that I can set to like 92.0%, and then when it drops, it automatically kicks on a humidifier and a fan and makes it nice.
Right. I mean, it's nice to be able to. I always think it's always better to humidify than to dehumidify, because dehumidification tends to be much more laborious for everything in the end of the day, like to get that sweet spot, because you're coming from the top to the bottom instead of from the bottom to the top, where you can just add more and then you can pull it back, you know what I mean? Whereas you're like working to get to this certain thing you want to get to, and it can be a lot of work for the system in a sense, because it has to get there. It's almost like how we're in a high altitude, so making extractions is worse than if we're down in,
because of the pressure.
Yeah. So you have to work. Everything works harder to get to that 0 point.
So with the mycelium, unlike like roots, where if they dry out, like not too bad, but you can like reanimate them. Like the mycelium, once it dries out, it's not necessarily viable anymore, and that becomes a vector for contaminants to kind of come in. What's really cool, if you have healthy mycelium, it has its own immune system.
Shout out to Uncut Bush.
It like has an immune system, so it produces what's called peroxase, which is similar to hydrogen peroxide, and it will kill off spores that land. But as the mycelium ages, that gets a little lax, and then it'll start to become attacked by things and then not have the immunity.
It's crazy, because I think about when I was young and running around in the woods in New England and stuff, and like ripping up logs and, you know, kicking over this or whatever. And now, you know, and look at all those ants. And then, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it was. But I remember now, you know, all the time pulling up and seeing mycelium in all different phases, you know what I mean? Like in the rotten trees with all the different mushrooms about to pop off and not realizing what I was looking at, you know, sometimes. And then, just different, like near the peat bog, you know, and you go just to that, or not peat bog, but there'll be like sort of a swamp area. And then as you change in the terrain, and then you're like, I remember just like, you know, dirt biking or whatever and ripping up a huge chunk of dirt, and all of a sudden you see like, oh shit, like there's some
they're beneath our feet.
Serious interaction, but not realizing at the time any of that. You know, just looking at what the fuck is that?
Fun story. When I was a kid, you know, like all this stuff was happening around me, but I didn't pay attention. But it was really cool to go home last summer and actually know what I was looking for, and go to all my childhood haunts in the woods and find reishi and find turkey tail. Right. And like, it's like Easter egg hunting, but different.
For sure.
You know, it's just really cool. And they were there the whole time. I just didn't notice them.
Right.
You know?
And obviously, beyond mushrooms, you're also, I'm sure you're interested in all forms of plants and botanicals and all. But what's your kind of go-to other non-mushroom sort of plants, just even from a growing point of view, or from a
So one plant that I like to show people is something called plantain. Have you ever heard of plantain?
Like
not a banana.
Not
it's
the plantains.
It occurs in a lot of like rocky driveways. It has really broad leaves, and it has these seed pods that look like asparagus. And if you have a bee sting and you chew a little bit and you put it on it, it'll neutralize it within like 5 minutes. Blows people's minds.
So it's an antiseptic or like a sort of
astringent. That's what it is.
Yeah. How's it smell? Like, does it have that vibe to it, or?
I mean, it smells green. It smells grassy.
Okay.
But I really like. I have an herbalist teacher, and she told me that in herbalism, you recognize that all the things that you need find you. They grow around you. They grow in your front yard. Mm-hmm. So she's an urban herbologist, and she had to meet her neighbors to forage in their yard, and she met this woman with 3 herbs that were growing that had insinuated that she was pregnant. And she said, "Oh, you're pregnant, congratulations." The woman's like, "No, I'm not." And then 3 weeks later, she came to her and said, "I am pregnant."
Oh, that's cool.
So it's been really cool to kind of like look to see what's growing around me, like mullein. Have you ever heard of mullein?
We have tons of it on the phone.
Well, when you have smoke inhalation damage, if you smoke that, it heals your lungs.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally been used for like a tobacco substitute for a long time, and yeah, it's Cece made some extraction and when Nick had ear infection, with a few drops of that, and cleared it up really quick. It was amazing, and like he would just like,
who knew, right?
Screaming 1 minute, and all of a sudden it was like, huh. And we have tons of it growing. And my mom was on a rant for, I'm killing it. Like she was like killing it all. We were like, no, I think there's definitely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You don't want it. Some of them are amazing. Like because you get like the whole field of them, and then you get the one. You're like, oh my god, look at that thing. You know what I mean? It's like, and it stacks like weed in a good way too. Like you get those you see those like colas action. You're like, whoa. Yeah, flowers really nice. I mean, that is the cool part about different regions too. You have all these different vibes, and we're in we're in our own sweet spot. Like maybe not so much for mushrooms. Like that's one thing.
They'll pop up at elevation. When I was in Telluride, we went to a spot and there were chanterelles and porcini as far as the eye could see. It was like unfathomable.
Yeah.
Can you put the GPS coordinates in both?
I don't know. If you come to Telluride next year, then I'll take you there.
Deal.
How many people show up for that this year? Because it's usually pretty big, right? I mean,
I think they sell 350 tickets, and then there's just like a push from the areas around that just to show up to be around it, because it just creates a vibe.
Right.
But it's really
it's like you're speaking and different conferences, or
it's like every facet of mushrooms. So this year I learned that I've been cooking mushrooms incorrectly. I usually just put the mushrooms in with the fat and cook until they're done. If you sweat them first, you just put them in a pan under like moderate heat and let all the water leave, and then add your fat. It'll just change your life. Change your life.
Are you speaking at the Psychedelics conference in November in Miami?
I haven't been invited. I got asked to speak at the Psilocybin Cup, but I just couldn't make it. I had other things going on.
No, that's a good cup to judge.
I entered into it.
Yeah?
Yep.
What's the criteria on that?
They have access to equipment that does a analysis and breaks down the psilocybin, psilocin, and some of the other more known compounds, and then they rank them. And then you send them enough of a sample size that if they like your numbers, then they have enough to check them out, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, definitely need a few months to test it properly, I guess.
I think it'd be really cool if you had someone gave you a sample and an intention, right? So that you could really have a curated experience. Like, show me the deepest and most expanded aspect of myself, and here's 5 grams. I think that would be amazing to be able to judge on that criteria.
Hard to go like from. Okay, and next.
Well, I mean,
you did your once every 6 month trip, and then you're like, I'll come back in like 3 years. We'll have the results.
I mean, there's some of us that like to go in more frequently.
Yeah, no,
I had this observation that after these big doses, I would have this wake of an expanded state, and then after 6 weeks, it kind of like caved in on itself. So I had this like
open window kind of deal,
right? And I was like, well, what happens if I just keep going in and keep staying in an expanded state, and the kind of heebie-jeebies that you get going in, they diminish because your body's already like primed for it in a way that when you let enough time go by, you kind of like get a little sheepish.
Yeah.
So
that's usually the first response, like when Dave like, I haven't done it it's always the date, you know what I mean? It's almost like they drink a whole bottle of wild turkey or something like that. Like, here, you want some wild turkey? Like, you know, the mushrooms, definitely, there's people who always have, like, they let the last trip hold them back to the next one, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what you're saying, like, if you get it rolling right, you might...
It wasn't that I wasn't opposed to the next trip. It was just I was very, very lucky to find a source of a different psychoactive substance that was... granted a lot longer. For me, it was that was my choice, and I had access to Great Liquid and Blue Unicorns from the 90s that were
if you find something
special.
that works, you know, work with it. I was 15 years old, and my best friend's mom gave me mushrooms, so I always had good experiences before I started doing ceremonial work, and then I started having difficult experiences, but in the end they were good. They were just showing me something in a way that I needed to be shown, you know. But like I said, being 15 and having an adult that you trust kind of like shepherd you into this really just made it user-friendly for me from the beginning.
You know, when you say user-friendly, it's something, I guess, being the pussy that I am, it was easier to travel with LSD because than it was mushrooms. You know, I mean, that's probably really where it all, because I was on the road a lot.
Think about the effectiveness of LSD too. You need 100 millionths of a gram for it to do its thing. Like, that's incredible. You need to take 30,000 times more ibuprofen for it to do its thing.
Right. Oh no, it definitely was highly effective. Have you ever seen that one picture where they showed the microdot from back in the day, and it's like they have a thing holding a thing holding a thing holding the microdot, and you're like, you have to like squint so small. You're like, oh, that's what they're showing. It's like, oh my god, because it's in a museum or something, and it was just like, imagine dosing those out. Like you're like,
little tweezers.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, there was a rule on tour that if somebody ever really said, "Listen, I was, you know, with a guy and we have some crystal," if you could see it, it was too much.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
that stuff's far out.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, if when you're looking at like, you know, 1/10 of a gram, and that's what, 10,000 doses, or no?
It's 10,000 per gram. So.
10,000 per gram. So 1,000 doses. Like, just you know,
tiny amounts.
No, a friend of my mom's snorted. So like I did like the classic, you know. Like,
I've heard stories.
And like they put her up on a hill with an alarm clock and just left her up there like
for 3 weeks.
She'll be fine for a couple days, like 48 hours. It was in up in Big Sur in California, so the weather-wise was all right, you know. And they just went up and made sure she had water and she was good. Yeah.
I probably mentioned this, but I was really blessed once. A friend of mine, Bill, walked over to Owsley Stanley and got me 2 vials. Back in, it was 1990, Shoreline Amphitheater, and I felt so. I only paid $20 for them, so I just gave one away.
Not the intro to everything. 1991 Shoreline. I've heard like 40 stories.
I gave the whole vial away. I put one in my pocket, and anyone who walked past, I just dosed. Because I'm like, this is going to be an amazing time.
So he made so much in his lifetime that they're still distributing it now.
Done deal at AdamDunnShow.com or Dave at AdamDunnShow.com. I mean, Bear was...
Yeah, he's the man.
Fuck.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's fucking brilliant. And a brilliant chemist, you know. But yeah, he made it...
It wasn't the easiest to get along with, though. Well...
I mean, but look how much he did.
Yeah, I know. He's allowed. Yeah. He gets a pass on everything.
There was a few bad decisions made along the way. Put it that way. There was a
pass on everything.
A couple of bad decisions. But I mean, that was the thing.
We can talk to Parrish about this, right?
Yeah, we can. We have a thing next month. But yeah, in general, I think obviously, you know, LSD spread so far and wide and changed. You know, same as you were saying about with mushrooms, people taking their, you know, becoming, you know, with the top experience of their life. With acid, that was like that for so many people. But it also, I think now people are realizing that we're so much already there, you know what I mean, without having to go, because also like underground kind of takes care of itself, whereas once it goes into clinical hands, it starts to lose, and in a way that creates the magic in a sense, whereas once it goes clinical, it's like almost like, I don't know, it'd be a different experience, you know what I mean? It's not the same as the...
It's not. No. But I think that the molecule has an agenda. Mm-hmm. And it just is going to have to show up in different forms to different people. Mm-hmm. But in the end, as long as we continue holding space for people that want to come to the mushroom itself and commune with the mushroom spirit, you know, as long as that's always a viable option, like, I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. You know, if people are having clinical experiences and like, you know, hacking 40 years of talk therapy, like, great.
What about like, because I had mentioned to you at one point, a friend of ours that was doing psilocin, and you were like, I don't know, it's not the one, you know what I mean? What do you think? Do you think that it changes like that chemically when it goes from, so when you deliver it as just pure psilocin in a clinical form, let's say, and I mean, obviously it's pretty easy for them to judge it, et cetera, but without that, I mean, it's the same we were talking about earlier with the entourage effect. Do you think that strips it back too far? Or?
I know it does.
Yeah.
Because I've been taking freeze-dried mushrooms recently, and the difference between dehydrated and freeze-dried is like apples and oranges. Mm. So the freeze-drying is preserving pretty much all the alkaloids that the mushroom produces, and the dehydration process is you're losing some of it to heat and the moisture that stays in the mushroom. So even just looking at that relationship, like apples and oranges. Really? So if you continue stripping away, you're going to get to a very diminutive point, you know, where it's still going to function, but it won't be nearly as rich as it could be.
Mm-hmm. You just described Sativex.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much exactly. The cannabis spray that they had made with GW Pharmaceuticals. Same. I mean, the one thing I have to say, they did it whole plant extraction. They didn't do, it wasn't as clinical as that, but at the end of the day, they also, they tried to block everybody. They did the classic where they tried to bully everybody else and made it like, we can only have that one. You know what I mean? It was like, oh my God, like you could have just done it right instead of trying to like control the whole market. But do you think once they get it all clinical, like, I mean, because it's totally doable. It's not like anybody's saying we can't do it. So obviously they can take it, strip it all back, get it to psilocin, put it into a pill. And do you think they'll ever try to like force out the...
Well, let's go back to Rockefeller, right? Rockefeller was like, oh, folk medicine's for the birds. We need to just have patentable medicine. And that's some nostalgia that we have to borrow, is that this rich person like pushed on the allopathic system that we have today and left out the integrated, holistic, plant-based, you know, and then the other chucklehead is Louis Pasteur, right? He's like, if we just kill everything around us, we won't get sick. When traditional Chinese medicine says, no, actually, if you nourish the body, it can take care of anything.
Yeah, balance is the most important part. I mean, for everything, like plants and, you know, as a grower, it's just, wait, what's going on over there, Crinkle Crackle? Yeah, Jesus Christ, what are you eating?
Mark's opening up a bag of Lay's potato chips.
I can't just eat one. You know, DJC so thoughtfully packaged everything in paper bags.
Oh,
you know,
I didn't say you had to eat the cookies on the air.
Well, I am.
Some ASMR.
I got some gluten-free chocolate chip cookies and some bagels in that bag. Mike Denver, please take some right there.
Homemade
yeah,
bagels.
don't crinkle the bags too much because then
you can't take them in New York.
They're not professional.
Turn your mic off.
What'd you say? You sound like my grandmother trying to eat at the dinner table. Yeah. Anyway.
But I think there's always going to be a capitalist push to silence these compounds because they're open source.
Yeah.
Their earth provides them, and if you can't capitalize on it, then people that are rooted in that mindset, that lack, that scarcity, are going to want to perpetuate that. But I believe that the earth...
It's also pretty easy to fill that gap fast, you know what I mean? Like there's not it's the same with cannabis. Like we've got to that level now where the minute that they're like, nope, just like, oh, okay, we fill in the gap, and all of a sudden we're like, you capitalize on that opening, just like fungi, you know what I mean? Like it's pretty much, we jump into that point, and if you actually legalize it, you really find quickly that people they go in hard, then they realize, oh, okay, it's actual work from this point on, because it's a whole it's more marketing than because the production isn't that hard. It's not it's not the hardest thing we've figured.
It's happening already.
Yeah.
The California cannabis growers have shifted and brought the price to mushrooms down to nothing, and there are people holding so much material because it does not get consumed at that rate.
Exactly. It's not like cannabis where it's just like you can just keep throwing it into the hole. It's like, we're good for a year. You've given us enough. I'm good for a year. You're good for a year. We're good for a year.
Yeah,
like
that was one summer.
Yeah.
One summer to like bottom out prices and saturate the market.
What was the lowest you heard in that world?
$500.
Okay, so that's not still it. I guess might pay some bills at the end of the day, because cannabis even got less than that. And it's like, if you start looking at how much resources it takes to grow
but
that
cannabis is being consumed.
Oh, I know.
Right? Mushrooms, there's a threshold.
Yeah,
there's
for sure.
just, people don't take that much mushrooms. So you could have it at $400, $500 a day, but it's not selling.
They've got like microdoses for like 45 years already. Like, I'm good for 45 years.
Yeah.
What's the input cost for, you just said it was $500 a pound, I'm assuming?
So what did I say? Like $7 of consumables for a quarter pound, so like $28. After you've bought your lab equipment and shit, $28 to produce a pound minus the labor.
That's
and you can
not a
reduce
bad
that even
return.
more.
Once you figured out your system and made it smart.
Yeah, if you're growing your grain, if you're like growing fields of rye, or like you have cows that are producing poop, like it goes down to like
put a bag right in his butt.
nominal.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're ready to go.
Cows produce poop for free.
Yeah, but I believe
Mark, I got a job for you. I got cows on the property, so you just go out there and get it.
The mushrooms have kind of shown me that they're all about economy, right? It doesn't cost much money to grow them. You don't need to take much, and a little dose can affect you for the rest of your life.
A little dabble do ya.
There's so much economy in it. It like blows me away. You know, I think a lot about like thermodynamics.
It's like ding, like Pavlov's dog. Yeah, no, it is true. Like when you grow your own cannabis and you realize it, and you're really just growing it for yourself, you're not trying to sell it or anything. You quickly do the same thing where you're like, oh my god, I am set for so long, because you can make
and you can share it.
Exactly. Well, it's like when I'm always giving weed to homeless guys, and I always put like some papers and some filters in a little bag and have it ready to go. I got it in the center console, and then it's just like you just see how quickly you make people so happy, you know. And you're just like, that was literally like stuff I would have just. I was just like looking at the jar like, whatever. There's always somebody who's gonna benefit from it, and it goes way better. Like you give somebody what they look at it as, shit, they would have sat out there for all day to get that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's built into the system for us to for us to have a relationship with these organisms. Mm-hmm. So
there's going to have to be a mass mushroom giveaway then, just to deplete the stock. Everyone just needs to give it away for a little while, eat it up, figure it out.
Eat it up.
Just go on a big trip. I'm ready to start. My eyes have been turning. Tonight was an interesting one.
If you are sincere and you keep just taking yourself to the altar, so to speak, like the benefits, I can't even tell you in a linear fashion.
8 grams next, dude.
Oh, I had my come to Jesus moment in February.
8 grams next.
So I'm not going to go 8 grams.
Dude.
I'm going to eat a little bit more than what I ate which was a thimble.
Yeah, don't traumatize yourself.
No.
I was in a bad way 2 years ago.
Thanks, Mark.
And my first big dose was 7.6 grams of penis envy, and it was more like an act of suicide in a way.
Yeah.
But it was like a bold gesture that I needed to make, and I ended up. I didn't just come to Jesus. I met something in my trip that self-identified as Jesus, and Jesus said to me, "Duh, you of all people, what did you think this was going to be like?"
How do people find you on the internet? Like on social media?
My name is Travis Tyler Fluck. F as in Frank.
Great name, brother.
F as in Frank. L-U-C-K.
You must have loved that as a kid.
Well, I gave points for originality eventually. I went to jail and had a field day with it. But yeah, nowadays I don't get it so much. No one even tempts fate. But
what new joke could they really say?
I get points for originality. If I had some fish shit.
We can do a Dunn Flucking Around collab. Ooh. We can do a mushroom weed combo thing.
Yeah. But and then my Instagram is view_askew. And then I'm a co-founder of the Denver Mushroom Cooperative. So you can find me through that channel as well. And we have a meeting coming up this Monday at Mamie Eisenhower Park in Denver. And the speaker is actually one of my mentors. And he's going to be speaking on mushrooms from antiquity to the present.
That's great.
Yeah.
You want to put that Instagram up there, Mark?
I'm already doing that, dude.
Wow, look at you. That cookie guy kicked right in there, I think, huh?
Oh, did he eat it?
Huh?
Oh, Mark.
Oh, you didn't know, Mark? LSD and those cookies, bro.
No, they're mushrooms.
We never really did an intro, but so I gave you the term.
We never do.
That's because we suck.
We're the worst. We're the worst show ever. When
suck.
I know it's cool. So I gave you the term Autognostic Mycologist.
I couldn't even try to. I was gonna just stumble on that one. Okay.
So autognosis, which is a word that came to me recently, is like the discovery of the mystery. The great mystery. So when you add auto to it, right, discover the great mystery of yourself, big S self and little s self, through mycology. And so I operate in 6 areas. I take the medicine myself. I hold space for people that want to have the same experiences. I have cultivated on and off for 20 years. I teach cultivation. I build community around this stuff, and I participate in the activism. So those are like the 6 areas that I work in.
Look at PDX Amazing. He's hustling out there. What's he doing? We want the money.
Oh my goodness.
Adam, give me the shout out. What is going on over there?
I don't know.
Shout out PDX Amazing. Come on. You have to give me money, son.
That's his son.
That's he's flucking around out there.
Not that any of my kids might be listening to the show and might want to be, get in on this action. Oh, look at that. A red hand pointing up. Uncut Bush going to town tonight. There's a rumor going around that Uncut Bush is actually my mother.
Got the address. Yes. PDX Amazing. You're the best. You're the best.
All right. I want to go inside. You want to go inside?
I think we should.
Let's do some really, really quick shout outs. Our sponsors will understand tonight if we don't spend 45 minutes doing the shout out. See, I will get fan mail now.
So sidetracked, but by the time we're done, we killed 45 minutes.
Let's keep it tight. Here we go. New Millennium Nutrients.
What? New Millennium Nutrients.
NewMillenniumNutrients.com.
Sharpest logo ever. Check it out. Reverse, upside down. It's all the same.
All the same. I was going to put a clock up, but no, just go with it.
It's misspelled in every direction. That's the best part about it. Doesn't matter if you go forward or backward. Still
looks
misspelled.
wrong.
Still misspelled.
Looks wrong.
New Millennium Nutrients. NewMillenniumNutrients.com. Check them out. Get the Dunn deal. Super easy to use. Great if you're on a large scale production, but you don't have to be. You can also go small production. They have about 9 different products, but you don't have to use them all either. You can use them independently. Check them out. Give them a shout. Tell them you want that Dunn deal. They'll send you a little pep pack.
Yeah.
Which is always good.
Go, Mark.
New Millennium Nutrients.
Look at that. It was like fire.
Medically Correct. They produce Clear Creek extracts, True Pura CBD, Incredibles edibles.
Super high quality edibles. If you ever got anybody looking for, if anybody's looking for, look at Rosin Dogs, killing it.
Crush it. Don't get us sidetracked, Rosin Dogs, with your generous donation. Quick extracts, fast acting edibles. You gotta try it.
He thinks we're strippers. He's giving us $1.
Incredibles edibles found at almost every medical dispensary, every recreational dispensary in the state of Colorado, in 6 states right now. Check them out. Go to truepura.com. Enter Dunn deal at checkout. You get 20% off.
Pura is Mark's mom.
Yeah.
She keeps it in business.
Yeah, Mark's mom.
Mark's mom is the code.
Yep. Mark's mom is the code. 100%. You guys you've been supporting forever. You guys are a great company. Thank you so much. Medically Correct, Incredibles. Oh, look at that. Greenfarmsmed.com. Place your pre-order. Organic.
It's all organic, no-till grown. So this is one of the few companies out there that's doing it right. They have 5-year living soil that they're growing out indoors in Colorado Springs. So if you've got a medical card and you want to get some real medicine that is grown with love. On all their rosin is fired too. It's amazing because all this stuff has really good profiles. Like when you look at it, it's like all sorts of cannabinoids in there.
Terpene
to the
rich.
point where the people that test are just like, dude, what are you doing? And it's like, I just feed him ferments. And he's like feeding them, I'm just taking my scraps and feeding it kind of back to them. And they're all, it's all balanced. It's all about growing the proper balance,
Who knew?
But yeah, definitely. Who knew, right? Just balancing the fucking plant. So go to Green Farms.
Greenfarmsmed.com.
There it is.
Greenfarmsmed.com.
Build a
soil.
Uncut Bush is-
855-877-SOIL. Don't go that direction, Uncut.
He undercut. He did.
You're getting a sidetrack again. Buildasoil.com.
95% of the products that he used to build that living soil, he got from our other sponsor, which is Build a Soil. So
There's
these
an
guys,
ecosystem right
He
there.
sells mushroom kits.
these are the guys you need to talk to. I'll get you linked up, and he's growing. He's already selling kits for all sorts of edible mushrooms there, and they do in-house stuff, and everybody grows there and understands growing cannabis, and I'm sure they've got a few people that are all on the mycology tip, but definitely good people because they've got all the source materials for growing, and I'm sure that they'll want to expand into the mushroom world too. They're on the western slope, but they ship free in Colorado and New Mexico for
$500 minimum order.
$500.
Yeah.
So if you had a big thing and you got a bunch of soil, you don't have to even fucking pick it up. You just gotta drop that shit
Thank you,
off.
brother. We did Ozo earlier, but you know what? They were so nice that we'll give them another shout out.
Yeah,
Go to
be quick.
ozocoffee.com, enter Dunn Deal at checkout.
You like coffee? You're a coffee guy, right?
You drink coffee? This is single origin coffee.
I'll get you some.
Sourced globally. Okay, shipped to Boulder, roasted in Boulder.
So it's all fresh. It's all like you get them green, roast them here, boom. Got it all dialed in, so it's not like somebody else. Because most of it's out there too dark and burnt and kind of like people.
I've realized this.
Yep.
And these guys, everything is like it's got the pop and the it's amazing. You get
Crazy.
What, you know how you read on a package, it'll say like chocolate raspberry with nutmeg notes? That's what it fucking tastes like. It's not like they just make the shit up on a Folgers because it's got crystals in it. It's fucking amazing.
they nail it.
Change everything about coffee.
Yeah, and it just makes you appreciate that whole medium roast world where you're like, oh, but usually the problem is if it's commercial, like breakfast blend, medium is crap.
Yeah, crap.
But if it's this, it's kind of like pulling everything back and not getting it to the point where.
Well, we gotta pause for a second. I think somebody has your credit card.
Why?
Because somebody's about to donate.
Oh yeah, right. PDX, get out of here.
Grab his computer right now.
Ozocoffee.com.
Ozocoffee.com. Trezor Barcelona. Oh, we love you guys. If you're in
I
Barcelona,
sent somebody to you. I sent my friend Natasha over there. I gave her the address. She's there.
Now?
I said go
Right
over
now.
to see
So
PD.
we cost him 30 euros.
It cost him. You're costing me money. If you ever get friends in Barcelona, tell them there's a shop there called Trezor. Killer artwork from our friends all over the world. From Amsterdam. This is from our group from Amsterdam. Actually, the logo. That's the London Police. But they've got killer art, great weed and hash available, and nice space down in right downtown in Barcelona. We love you, Petey. I sent over Natasha. Take care of Natasha.
Apothecary Farms.
Oh shit!
Everyone, go check out Carly down there and give her some good tips because they got a blowout sale right now, man. I got like 8 grams of GMO for like $20 a piece. It was crazy. They got all kinds of good deals right now. You can get the Dunn deal there, $25 for a gram of ambrosia and an infused joint. And they got the fire, man. That's what we smoke every week here on the show.
What am I smoking?
Grape cola.
Is that what this is? No.
Yeah. You guys got grape cola. I took
I got
this is Crescendo sour cookies.
Crescendo sour cookies.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
And grape cola.
We appreciate you, even though you gave me the funny ding.
I took the ogre cake.
That's fine.
Ogre
What
cake.
ding? What's your ding?
That we made 10,000 in spite of Dave, fucker. I like that one. Apothecary Farms, Apothecary Extracts, Oklahoma. 3 locations here in Colorado: Pueblo, Denver, and Colorado Springs.
You get what do you get? Graham and a infused joint still, or
For $25.
Deal.
Papa Select.
Oh shit.
Oh, Papa Select.
New website.
Look at that.
Puffco Pro.
Fantastic product. The hash is amazing. Got to be in California. They sent us some really killer swag. The hoodie's great. Their hash is fire. It's on point.
Are you reading this? Live ice water hash gummies. Strain specific,
some.
farm specific, small batch.
I want some. Boris, are you listening? No, because we know where Boris is. He's at a show that films in LA every Friday. I can't say it out loud or I'll get smacked in the head. But, it's a show that films in LA every Friday. It might be on someone's home.
What, Friday during our show?
Maybe a box
Get the fuck out of
office.
here.
Yeah, I know,
listening.
right?
No one's listening to your stinking show.
All right, who's next?
All right, numb nuts.
Oh, these are awesome too.
They're selling their peanut butter without anything in it right now, and it's selling.
They have
Yeah, they have CBD infused and then regular non-infused, and then you can get THC infused as well. 1,000 milligrams
in case
per
you feel like
tub.
going over to the dark side.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Right, it's almost like IV.
I normally
THC.
take the THC and then the peanut butter.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need to do that anymore.
Usually,
Okay.
Don't
This
need
is
to
a
do
double.
that.
This is getting it all down at the same time.
But their first product was nuts, and they're very tasty as well.
Very nice, spicy nuts.
Spicy
sweet.
nuts.
On your chin.
On your chin.
Yes, there you go.
Gluten-free.
Yeah, there we go.
100% natural. 100% vegan.
I think the gluten-free
greatest
part, isn't
nuts
that
you'll-
like just nuts in general? Or gluten? It's not like kind of.
No, because they sometimes can use soy sauce in the roasting process, and
they
that
might
makes
use-
them
I
weedy.
got you. Yeah, you don't want
Yeah,
that.
you don't want that.
You don't want that. But yeah, killer numb nuts.
Thank you, Adam. Not you, Adam. Adam Weiss.
The other Adam, the real
Numb
Adam.
nuts.
Real Adam.
14 or bolder.
Oh,
14.
we got?
Fire. Look what we got tonight.
I'm
we have
smoking on Susie's Closet.
that just didn't sound right. You're hiding in Susie's closet is what you're doing. You wait for Susie to go to bed, and then you jump out and go, surprise. Susie's Closet and Strava.
Strava, that's what I got.
Strava.
Hey, I'm assuming that's strawberry guava, right?
It could be, but right now, if you look on their website and you click their pre-order mark, it's interesting. They have some like very limited once-run strains coming through, which probably means they were fire strains, but maybe they didn't meet the right yield requirements,
it's
or
like
they were a couple days short or a couple days long
different
within
vibe.
their, they're not
Also
vibing
nice.
well with everybody. They won't play nice with everyone, but the fire. You got to head down there. They're doing like a 4 gram special for $80 of ambrosia processed by Apothecary Extracts.
That's a deal.
You can get DJC there. All right, it's the one with my face on it.
Hey,
It's their best-selling weed, so you can't make fun.
Bring
I
a
don't
sticker
care.
that you can put over the face, and it'll be all good. And then send us a
Thank you,
photo,
guys.
and you get win some seeds.
Please tell them you heard about it on the Adam Dunn Show.
There you go. That's a deal.
There you go.
Yes. Show me the.
Show me the sticker over, you get free gear.
Hey, now it's going to be fish it. Just
So if you
one
want to
word.
win,
We're changing
come on.
it. We've changed it. Sorry,
Come on,
Tom.
if you want to win, just send us a picture of Mike Denver as a fish wearing a diaper.
Playing a guitar, of course, because he's got with
Maybe
his hair.
planting mushrooms.
Oh.
He knows the mushroom thing, but he's got the
guitar.
wavy hair, man. I'm just telling you,
He needs
he's
a wind
cute.
machine. He needs a wind machine
Yeah.
and a guitar.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
Totally.
come on.
Come on.
Dude, I used to
Come
play
on.
with this band with this guy who had a fan hooked to a pedal, and every time he hit a guitar solo, it fucking...
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking hilarious shit.
$100. We will send it to you
Fish
free.
shit.
Did he freak out when he forgot it for a show? He'd be like,
I'm sure he did.
"No,
I bet you he
how
did,
can I
dude."
do the show without the
Like,
wind effect on my
send
hair?
his
Like,
girlfriend to go get it.
should have driven 100 miles and
Fishheadfarms.com at fishshit on Instagram. Thank you so much.
Terp wipes.
Terp wipes, not Tate wipes. Go to www.terpwipes.com/donedeal.
this definitely. This is
Yeah,
a
try
crossover.
that. That's a great
That's a good
product.
crossover product because that's just it's ethyl alcohol instead of isopropyl alcohol, so it's a little cleaner for you instead of like drying your shit
Don't
out.
use it on your taint.
Yeah, but it's good stuff.
It's like 4 times the size of a regular wimpy.
Four
Yeah.
times the size and four times
For
the
real, though.
size, for real.
It's the quicker picker upper. No, that's another.
Oh,
But it's seriously
now we're
bigger. Come
banned
on.
from
I'm not-
YouTube. That's it.
That's it?
we
They
just
banned
got-
us
Yeah,
from me
because you
saying-
said that. That's owned. Somebody owns that.
All right. Oh shit! I already got a message.
Oh shit.
You
Next.
we own you. It says we own you.
We own you.
We own you.
Own you.
Terp wipes /
Terpwipes.com/donedeal.
There you go.
That's it.
Illumino.
Oh yeah, we're giving away an Illuminar on Friday.
Whoa.
Come on.
Whoa.
Yeah, this
Whoa.
Friday.
You know what you have to
Whoa.
do. Email
You know what's
Dunn
funny?
Deal
You
have to do?
The best part is that I'm talking to the fucking shipping company about my lights, and they're like, "So yeah, we got your email. It's Dave." I'm like, "Fuck, is that,
What is
where
it?
is that why I'm not getting my shit?"
No,
Is
they
because-
have all of us on the same email, so I think they're only just reading like the first one, maybe.
Yeah, Dave's, of course.
Why is mine first?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's real dumb.
Somebody fucked up. Somebody fucked up. Because I'm like, no,
Mark's on fire.
I was like,
Mark's on fire. There we go.
anyway, but yes.
We're giving away an LED. Come on, what are we giving away this Friday? It's not an IL-8, but it's
I don't know, dude.
we're giving away a lamp. And you know what? If you say
T-shirt.
I heard it was a
lamp shirt.
an IL-8.
It's a lamp. Oh, and
You're
I say
getting a lamp.
It's a lamp shirt.
Just know you have to know the word of the month. You're going to find it this week.
This real month, though. Not
Yeah, you have to know. I'm going to know it this month.
It can't be some other month, random month that we just all get excited about. You got to actually know the month, and then you got to give us like 5 minutes to figure out if we're right.
No, Micro will tell us right away.
Oh, yeah, Micro will figure it out.
He'll tell us right away.
No, actually, it has to go through Micro to get validated.
Phone number.
And once it's validated, you will win a light.
You have to include your phone number. We have to be able to call you. We can't get through to you on the Mycelium network.
Done deal at AdamDunnShow.com.
Yeah.
It is the done dealiest of all deals. That's 15% when you do that. 15%. So if you know anybody looking for LEDs, 15% off, and then go to Illuminar, say done deal.
Done deal.
It's a deal.
Done deal.
That's a good
Seeds here now. God. Come.
Not mushrooms.com.
No.
Or mushroomsherenow.com.
Mushrooms now here.
Here now mushrooms.
Here now mushroom.
That would be the Yoda version.
Here now mushroom.com.
Here mushroom now. No, mushroom.
That's the Yoda way you would speak?
I don't know. You're the Yoda expert around here.
Mushrooms. Anyway, seedsherenow.com. Enter Done Deal at checkout. I think you get 10% off. You get a discount.
You get everything for free.
You get no, you don't.
It just comes.
You don't. Delete that.
Pretty
in
much
post.
don't have to pay for anything the rest of your life. You just stop paying. You just say done
don't
deal.
pay your utilities. Nothing.
Keep mentioning done deal. Bills come to your house. Just send back a thing.
Deal.
Right, say done deal. Send it back to return to sender, and then that should last about a month or two, and then. Get ready to move.
Then the red letter.
Get ready to move at that point.
Yep, you're in trouble.
Done deals don't last.
Seedsherenow.com. Enter Done Deal at checkout. You'll get a discount. Just get like 70 breeders.
70 breeders under one roof and more, even just every day. You know, he's kind of. But the good part is that everyone hangs. Like everybody who gets involved, they just fucking stay through the thick and thin because. Just takes care of everything.
It's only grown. His network is only grown since I've known him.
Best customer service, super professional. And you get what you pay for, and no bullshit along the line. Yeah, well, we had this, but we didn't have that. But you hear all sorts of horror stories, or you never get nothing. That's the other thing. Like, so many charlatans out there selling seeds. Get it from a good source. You can get seeds from me. You can get seeds from JJ, from Top Dog, from Leo Aficionado. Massive seeds.
Please, if you grow those seeds to like anything like what he grows them, please send pictures. That blows me away.
Yeah.
Blows me away.
So check them out. Get the Done Deal. We'll have James on there. James has got all sorts of ideas for new shows, too. He was
sweet.
Pumped up. Check out the last one we did, which was cool.
That he threatened to come on?
He threatened to come on. He'll be on the next show.
Yeah.
He'll be on the next show.
Should we give Tim Danko's information right now?
Oh, yeah. You'll be getting calls from Danny Danko's show within a week because they take all my guests and just kind of recycle. They're like the sloppy seconds of the.
He did get Jim Belushi. We didn't get Jim Belushi.
No, we didn't get Jim Belushi. We can do a reverse on him, but no, we don't want Jim Belushi.
Yes, we do. Stop it. He's doing a lot for the industry. Cut it out.
I don't need to.
Cut it out.
Talk to his brother. Maybe have to take him.
Take some mushrooms.
I have to take at least 8 grams of mushrooms to talk to John Belushi. Right. And a little bit of cocaine, unfortunately, because otherwise you can't tap into his spirit. Because that's unfortunately was his spirit animal, which I definitely won't be going down that road. What was he doing? Benzos and fucking coke or something? He was on a bad. Was definitely not on the right. He could have mushrooms would have made. He was
brilliant, genius, made me laugh so much, man.
Well, that's the thing is I think that's one of the keys to the whole mushroom thing is that there's so many people out there that took a lot of benzos or got stuck on these programs, and there's all like, and really like those are like the toughest ones.
Well, that's the FDA trials going on right now.
And then all of a sudden you got like something that's going to bridge the gap right there and make it all fucking doable and like you were saying about headaches earlier, like the certain ones just bam, like those cluster headaches and things like that, medicinally that like nobody's fucking gonna say no to that, you know what I mean? Like that's like, what, you mean headaches that you get every month that you don't get them? Like there's people who I've seen that there was that one documentary, that one guy who just does his little deal once a month and it works a lot. He lived in Alaska or something and he was just like a coal mine or an oil worker guy or something and locked his, he's like, I'll see you in 36 hours, everybody. And it just kind of, dealt with it all. And then just kind of every month was perfect. So those things are, that's the key to the whole, like, how the endocannabinoid system works. Like, kind of like where the mushroom is, like, it's all these invisible, it's like all these layers in between that have, like, really make everything work. You know what I mean?
Well, it addresses the root of the problem instead of just the symptom. Because if you can only affect the symptom, you're not really fixing anything.
No, you're just band-aiding it.
Yeah.
That's psychedelic medicine right there. There is titration is down to set numbers of sessions in the 5 or 6 sessions compared to 30 years of potential therapy. Right.
It's, it just blows me away.
Hey, how about a big shout out to Vince Kabluchek for coming on the show and allowing us to set up the mobile studio here at Meow Wolf.
PDX is on being 9 years old. That's what PDX is on.
Yeah, totally.
With access to technology that we were.
Yeah, Micro, do you understand that? That's a 9-year-old you're talking to right there, man.
You're communicating with my 9-year-old.
Right.
He's definitely broken through the age barrier gap on our YouTube channel.
Right. So if you want to just have an experience, a psychedelic experience just on your own, Meow Wolf. During the week, Vince said tickets are still available. It's sold out for months probably on weekends. Come down, spend hours, spend a day. I was really serious. Every turn you take, there's a new experience and something to take in. It's an immersive experience with a story in the background. So pick up one of these cards and tap it on the walls and interact and have fun. And if you're down here right now, we're finishing up the show and it's time to go Meow Wolf.
Go Meow Wolf.
Yeah. Have you been inside?
Travis is he's
No,
keeping
I'm
his
going on a
virginity.
date
He's got a virginity
next
situation.
Saturday.
Yeah, he's got to keep them.
Oh, that's right.
I want to have first look with her.
Look at you.
I was
brilliant.
kind of in the same boat, but they're actually going to come tonight. So like after you guys leave, I'm going to take some of the passes and take them.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who you think you are?
Well, maybe.
But you have to give them back. They have to be
I know
returned.
that.
Every single
I know.
one has to be returned. They're all accounted for, and I actually pledged
He has his
Adam's next child.
Oh,
So
well, that's good.
Oh.
No, he'd be waiting a while. PDX amazing.
That's it.
He's taking
The one and done.
He's taking the one and done.
done.
The one and
Actually,
what?
Mike Denver has something to tell you.
Oh, he's pregnant.
You're his
My baby
dad.
with my baby. Oh, he's my illegitimate son.
You're his dad.
Oh,
Yep.
I knew that was coming. I knew that
See,
day
you
was
knew
coming.
it was coming. I mean, what other reason would he be here?
Yeah, I know.
He had to pop the news to you.
Yeah, too bad I'd never been to Denver before. Those years.
How do you know that's where his mom was?
I know. She could have been in Amsterdam.
Right?
Did your
She could
mom
have
ever
come
go
to
to Amsterdam?
Thank you, Tim, for coming on the show.
Travis.
Travis.
It's
I'm,
close.
I'm an ass.
It's close.
Oh, yeah.
I
You
didn't
I don't
introduce
mind.
you.
have the T right.
I suck. Hate mail. Send it
I'm
on
the one
in.
who fucks up names.
No,
You're stealing my. You're stealing
I'm
my
stealing
whole
your gig.
steez. My whole
No,
steez.
Travis, I would really like you to come on the show again. There's more here. I want to talk to you off the air. There, I know of some. There's a few networks I'm sure that I'm connected in that you're not connected in, and vice versa. And I was serious. There is a conference that I'm going to in early November on psychedelic therapeutics, and speaking should be something they should look into having you there to talk, because they're talking about the medicinal aspect, and it all comes from production, proper production, and
So the crux of my message is really, I've traded in my belief system for a direct experience system. So you can look at all the studies and you can look at all that, but until you have the direct experience with it yourself, like you're just taking everyone else's word for it.
It's the corporate Chad look at cannabis compared to and they always need the person who's the conduit to the real culture, otherwise they fail. And it's usually there's one cool guy in the whole crew that's actually got a finger on the
he
pulse.
and Dr. Mark need to talk.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
We got all sorts. But the thing that's cool, like I said, we're going to do these monthly, and I think they're going to. The best part will be to grow them, so we have instead of having just 1 or 2 guests, we'll end up with repeat guests, because we'll keep connecting everybody, which is the whole point, right?
Of
is
the
to make
mycelium network.
Bring the mycelium network together, but connect all these people that we have been doing their work independently, and all of a sudden when they overlap, it just becomes multiplied, especially when it's. In this, we're in that phase now where things are so omnidirectional in the sense of whatever you fucking want. You know what I mean? And probably everything is out there, and slowly we'll just fucking tap those resources and make it work. Create the whole monthly psychedelic, and then we'll have an excuse to take more mushrooms during the show. So,
Yeah, man.
And you guys out there can do the same and join us, which would be awesome. So,
shout out to Meow Wolf.
Shout out to Meow
Travis,
Wolf. Shout out to Howie for giving us this place to do our show out of.
Shout out to Mark, even though he made fun of me.
Oh, he's really sad about that.
Shout out to Vinny and
that was funny.
MTI. Shout out to Katie coming through.
Yeah.
Joe and everybody. And shout out obviously Mike Denver. Jesus Christ. Don't fuck
You want to
around.
poke your head on it so people can actually see that you're actually
See your
really
hair.
here?
Just put your hair in front of
His
just
flowing
flow
locks
your hair
coming.
so they can
Get
see.
ready to all screenshot everybody.
Yeah,
Look at this.
No. Keep going.
It's either Bob Weir or Einstein on his shirt.
Look at that. Flow. Yeah,
Get the
flow.
Dunn deal.
Yeah.
PanteneProV.com. Dunn deal.
Pantene.
I got some Lambo here.
Oh, nice.
Whoa, why did that wait for the whole show?
Yeah, right?
Holy
Come on
shit.
here.
Come at the
God
last
dang
second.
it.
That
You
was,
know, you don't know the Adam Dunn show rules, right? What
It's
comes on the show stays on the show. Thank you for that gift to the show. That was a nice gift of him, right?
Yeah, I know. He's such a nice guy.
Such a nice guy.
Shout out to CC and my beautiful wife CC and little Nick. PDX amazing, I should say. For lighting up lighting up the board there.
Yeah.
Fucking getting people going. They want to know what's going on. Where's people?
That's right.
All right, look
Look at that.
at that. Mike Denver.
Mike Denver.
Throwing the fire.
Tell Travis to try Newfoundland shrooms.
Is it like a website or a company?
They are legit considered the strongest basic shroom for. Oh, it's a certain type of shroom.
We're going to get on a tangent. I told Cece wanted my pass to go in. I said I'm going to go in 20 minutes. That was an hour ago now.
It smells a little bit like
come
the
on.
Foco Sage kind of vibe almost.
I want to go in.
I think it's got a similar.
All right.
Let's go.
Similar.
Roll that beautiful
crossover.
bean footage. Did you
I remember.
thank everybody?
Is that a greenhouse indoor or what is that?
This one was indoor.
Indoor.
Outdoor does really good. Outdoor greenhouse.
That's I think that's where it flexes the most, you know. So, well,
Show next week from Rosin Dogs. Just decided on the show we're going to be in New York.
As we know now we know what we're doing. We thought we were going to do. Huh?
Vinny's going.
Vinny's flying in to do the show.
Oh, is he really?
Really?
I thought you were going to do it from Katie's.
Yeah, you're doing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you guys are going?
Yeah.
I'm not going?
You don't need to go.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah,
you didn't
you
want to go.
yeah, I
get
like
pissed
this.
when we want to take you.
Yeah,
I was
this is
like,
good.
I was like, we don't have to take Mark. You can just do the show
Yeah.
from there, and then we can have, because I have guests coming into the studio.
Oh.
So you're gonna have to do it from Katie's house, set it all up like normal.
Oh, that's going to work great.
Why not? And then have my guests.
Yeah,
there.
why doesn't that work?
Rosin, what are you going to have? You going to have high-speed internet or is it AOL?
It's underwater, baby.
Well, you can bring the mic with
Oh, no!
It's underwater now.
Too soon. Too soon,
you. You can bring the
man.
Wi-Fi with you.
Oh no, we won't need that.
Yeah, dude.
No, we have to bring the board.
Oh, we'll
that he
bring it
wants.
anyway. We'll bring
Yeah.
it. No, we'll
No.
bring it.
Yep, we get the board.
No, you have to buy another board.
No.
You gotta buy another board.
We're taking the board.
We're taking
It's
the
fucked
board.
up, man. you guys brought me a seat. I didn't get to use the fucking seat. I got my headphones jacked for me. And now the fucking board, dude.
I know. We took it all.
Everything he said was true.
It's like my kid. It's like my kid and fucking phone cables. They are gone. They're just everything. You just can't turn your head. Gone.
This
But,
smells really fucking good, man.
See you guys next week.
You don't have to give me the big one. Give me a smaller.
Hippo Hydro
Take.
live, getting high at the Hippo.
Sweet. That's going to be so much fun.
I know. Who are we gonna get as a guest? I don't even know. Oh, maybe
Rosin. We'll interview him. We'll interview one of his.
We'll interview everybody about him. That's better.
Yes.
I mean, that only goes so far, though.
I know.
Oh God. Thank you, everybody.
All right, man. See you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace.
Practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden.
This is a special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.